and was ordered to pay $86,000 in restitution. Brown was a participant in the CHA's Housing Choice Voucher Program when she became a joint owner of the property for which the CHA subsidized her rent. Well, a big change could be coming to Wisconsin. Snowplows in that state could soon have the power to control stoplights. Lawmakers are considering a plan that would give the state and local governments in Wisconsin to put in their plows the same kind of gear that police and firefighters have to control traffic lights. Chicago sports. Bulls lost to Toronto last night, 118-107. Number 14 Fighting Illini, now on a 2-game win streak, following an 87-75 win at Ohio State. The Northwestern Wildcats look to knock off number 2 Purdue for the second time this season when the two teams meet at Mackey Arena tonight, while the Lady Cats host number 3 Iowa at Welsh Ryan. 5:08 and a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Brandon Tatum wants you to know what they're afraid of.
Gas prices were down. Unemployment for Black, Hispanic, women, historic lows. Things were headed in the right direction. People were satisfied, happy with the trajectory of the country when Donald Trump was in office. So what is the fear? It's made up. It's a lie.
The Officer Tatum Show. Weeknights at 8, right before Sean Hannity at 10 on AM 560. The Answer.
Major phone carriers make you sign contracts with rigid data plans to trap you into a kind of forced phonogamy. Sounds pretty insecure if you ask me. At Consumer Cellular, we believe in a more consensual and healthy form of phonogamy, free of contracts and more flexible to your data needs. This way, you stick around not because we force you to with contracts and fees, but because you love our phone plans. Like ardently love our phone plans. Phonogamously. Consumer Cellular. When Freedom calls, we're here to answer. Call us at 1-888-FREEDOM.
My friend and I are taking a trip to Mexico this year, but neither of us speak Spanish. So we downloaded Babbel and started learning Spanish fast.
Want to start getting conversational in another language? In as little as 3 weeks? Babbel's quick 10-minute lessons were designed by language experts to be the most efficient and effective way to learn a new language.
¿Cómo te llamas?
¿Cómo te llamas?
Babbel, language for life. Celebrating 10 million subscriptions sold. Go to Babbel.com and start learning a new language today. That's BABBEL.com.
The Angie's List you know and trust is now Angie, and we're so much more than just a list. We still connect you with top local pros and show you ratings and reviews, but now we also let you compare upfront prices on hundreds of projects and book a service instantly. We can even handle the rest of your project from start to finish. So remember, Angie's List is now Angie, and we're here to get your job done right. Get started at Angie.com. That's ANGI, or download the app today.
Are you tired of going online every day and getting news meant to make you afraid? Or meaningless celebrity gossip fighting for your attention? Want something different? Something positive? Make your new homepage Christianity.com with daily devotionals, answers to life's tough questions, and meaningful Bible study from favorite pastors and authors on today's current events and issues. Now you have a homepage that reflects your life and your faith. Join the thousands of others who have joined Christianity.com and experience the difference that good news can make in your life.
It's 5:10. Let's get an update on the roads this morning. We do that, of course, in the Team Hochberg Traffic Center. Edens, Kennedy, Ike, and Stevenson are off on time this morning. No big delays on the toll roads. Just remember, if you're hopping Metra, effective tomorrow, a new system-wide overhaul goes in place of its fare structure, a reduction in the number of zones, and you're not going to find your friendly ticket man or woman at your local stop anymore. You will find a vending machine instead. Traffic, a service of Allstate. Some people just know there's a better way to do things, like bundling your home and auto insurance with Allstate. Visit allstate.com or call for a quote today. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy starts next. Your official Chicagoland weather forecast in the AM 560 Weather Center. Here's our AccuWeather meteorologist, Steve Williams.
Clouds giving way to a bit of sun, a mild day. High today 46. Patchy clouds tonight, low 38. Clouds and sun, mild tomorrow, the high 50. And then mostly cloudy Friday, the high Friday afternoon, 43. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
37 at O'Hare, 38 at Midway, 34 in Aurora, 37 along Chicago's lakefront. Your next news update, 5:30. Chicago's Morning Answers starts next on AM 560, The Answer.
Sick and tired of achy joints? Dread the idea of surgery? Well, you need to call QC Kinetics. Hi, it's Amy Jacobson. Listen, the state of healthcare is always changing. The old ideas like steroids, cortisone shots, surgery are no longer your only options. Regenerative medicine at QC Kinetics is transforming lives with innovative, non-surgical, drug-free treatments that deliver lasting results. Knee pain, back pain, shoulder pain from arthritis or injury? Well, don't let this pain keep you from living your best. QC Kinetics' advanced state-of-the-art treatments harness and direct your body's natural ability to restore and repair damaged joint tissue. Make 2024 the year you reclaim your mobility and independence. Walk and run, play and live. Call QC Kinetics now for a free consultation. New locations, folks, in Crystal Lake and Gurnee. Call 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955. 312-809-5955.
Are you ready for an adventure of a lifetime? Journey with me, Dr. Sebastian Gorka, on the Patriots Alaska cruise this summer. It's an incredible opportunity to engage with me and other like-minded patriots on an epic 7-day cruise over 4th of July weekend. Witness the untouched wilderness of Alaska while discussing America's future. What could be better? Join me from June 29th to July 6th. Call 855-565-5519 or reserve online. PatriotsAlaskaCruise.com.
An informed and educated citizenry is the only guarantee to preserve our constitutional republic. And each week, you'll hear from experts, not pundits, and find out what's really happening, from local issues to national politics. Listen to The Real Story with Jeannie Ives. There's no topic of public policy concern that she won't talk about. Stop the lies. Learn the truth. Join the conversation. Sunday night at 7, right here on AM 560, The Answer.
This is Dennis Prager. Now you can listen to my show when it's convenient for you and without censorship from Big Tech. Become a member of the ultimate online community for all things Prager. It's Pragertopia Unlimited. Listen to every radio show over the last 10 years, all commercial free. You can even listen to all my Torah teachings for free. Join today and save 25% off the first year and get a free Pragertopia coffee mug. Go to Pragertopia.com or click the banner at DennisPrager.com.
50 years of precision tooling. Now that's a lot of job shop work and custom parts. And it's why Bruscher Machining is the go-to CNC turning and machining company in Chicagoland. If you have a custom project, whether it's a single prototype or a short-run production of a few thousand pieces, give them a call today for your free custom quote. 630-876-1661 or visit BruscherMachining.com. That's BRUCHER Machining.com. They also provide heat treating, balancing, plating, and surface coating, welding, and fabrication, plus project management. Bruscher Machining guarantees to consistently deliver high-quality parts and solutions on time for reasonable prices. Yeah, everyone says that, but the proof is in the tooling. Stop by to meet their team of seasoned pros and tour the facility located in West Chicago. To learn more about how CNC machining can turn your tough project into an operational reality, contact Bruscher Machining today for your free custom quote. 630-876-1661.
A great smile can make you feel happy and confident. So when you consciously conserve your teeth, that glowing smile will show through. At Best Dental Group, Doctors Economos, Gavalis, and their staff are ready to help you create that perfect look or maintain the one you have now. Along with general dentistry, Best Dental Group is a multidisciplined practice with an orthodontist, periodontist, and prosthetic specialists on site. They use the newest breakthroughs in dental technology, such as titanium implants, implants, Invisalign clear braces, and laser treatments. Don't let fear get in the way. They can recommend sedation to make your experience as comfortable as possible. Best Dental Group is located in historic downtown Bartlett and is a multilingual office. Call 630-830-4930. That's 630-830-4930. Or visit bestdental.org. Best Dental Group, sharing your conservative values and helping you to conserve your teeth.
Have you been struggling to find an easy, safe, and secure document scanning solution for Salesforce.com, Microsoft 365, SharePoint, or OnBase by Highland? Your struggle is now over, and it's time to get your documents and operations into the 21st century. With IoT Smart Connected Scanning, it's easy to turn physical paper into digital documents and have them directly uploaded to the cloud with IoT Smart Connected Scanning from IDT. And you don't need a degree in computing or IT to make it happen. Using QR code technology uniquely configured for your specific business, anyone can set the IoT Smart Connected Scanning device up in 5 minutes or less, saving your organization money and valuable time. Remote employees can even capture documents and send them safely and seamlessly. Organize documents efficiently and securely with IoT Smart Connected Scanning from IDT. To see a demo or to order now, go to ready4idt.com. That's ready4idt.com. Use promo code SMART and receive 10% off your order. IDT, putting paper in its place.
Where can you go anytime, day or night, to hear full-length radio programs from favorites like John MacArthur, Greg Laurie, and Chuck Swindoll? The new OnePlace.com. Where can you get free devotionals, podcasts, and articles on issues like marriage and parenting, politics and current events, and Christian living for men and women? The new OnePlace.com. Your favorite Christian teachers, online and on mobile at OnePlace.com. OnePlace.com.
When you're serious about your concealed carry training and education and are ready to learn from an active police officer with a teaching degree, check out Illinois Concealed Carry Training in Midlothian. You'll learn safe, responsible firearm use, home defense planning, conflict avoidance, situational awareness, and how to remain physically, morally, and financially safe in the event you must use your firearm in self-defense or the defense of another. Weekday and weekend classes available.
I'm Sergeant Gary Carr, police firearms trainer and the owner of Illinois Concealed Carry Training. We'll arm you with what really counts: knowledge and training. All concealed carry curriculums are not created equal. This may be the single most important decision you'll ever make for yourself and your loved ones. Choose between 3 and 16-hour classes that are available both weekdays and weekends. We are your one-stop for concealed carry classes, fingerprints, and legal defense plans.
Register for a class today and get 10% off class fees with promo code AM560. Visit IllinoisConcealedCarry.com. That's IllinoisConcealedCarry.com.
Lots of channels, nothing to watch, especially if you're looking outside of big corporate control. It's time to interrupt your regularly scheduled programs with something worth watching. The new Salem News Channel. Straightforward, unfiltered, in-depth insight and analysis from the greatest collection of conservative minds, all in one place. SNC is home to Dennis Prager, Mike Gallagher, Sebastian Gorka, and more. Watch anytime on any screen. Free 24/7. Find what you're looking for at snc.tv. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. So, as anticipated, the House Homeland Security Committee moved articles of impeachment against Homeland Security Secretary Dr. Evil Ali Mayorkas yesterday. Here's Mark Green, a Republican from Tennessee, the chairman of that committee, rolling out the articles of impeachment against Mayorkas.
Today is a grave day. We have not approached this day or this process lightly. Secretary Mayorkas' actions have forced our hand. We cannot allow this border crisis to continue. We cannot allow fentanyl to flood across our border, or criminals to waltz in undeterred. And we cannot allow a cabinet secretary with no regard for the separation of powers or the rule of law to remain in office. That is why today we present this committee with the articles of impeachment against Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, Mark Green and House Republicans. I don't know. I'm of two minds on this Mayorkas impeachment. Half of it is summed up in part in this Wall Street Journal editorial on the topic. The editorial board over the Journal writes, as much as we share the frustration with the Biden border mess, impeaching Mayorkas won't change enforcement policy and is a bad precedent that will open the gates to more cabinet impeachments by both parties. Is it just a policy disagreement? I mean, I understand the precedent-setting nature of this, but I would say that the reckless use of impeachment against a former president by Democrats on the Hill is what has set the precedent for impeachment to be a weapon of first resort. And is it just a policy mess, a policy disagreement and lack of enforcement? First of all, I mean, in the 20-page write-up on the articles of impeachment, they go through lying to Congress, obstructing congressional oversight, so forth. But how about just Article 4, Section 4? You know, the Constitution. Remember that document? The same conversation we've had about Biden. So this is Biden's mini-me, as it were, to continue my Austin Powers metaphor. And he is faithfully opening the borders, consistent with the policy of this administration and inconsistent with the Article 4, Section 4 responsibilities of the federal government to protect the states. So that's one half of it. The other half of my brain, though, is this is easy. It's easy. I mean, it's so easy that even some Democrats have signed on to impeaching Mayorkas because they want to offer something to the constituents back home. I'm serious about border security. But it obviates what I think is the real responsibility of House Republicans. I mean, the entire Congress, but we know that the only conversation to have is about the choices that House Republicans have and the ones they make. And that is the responsibility I'm talking about that's obviated, to exercise the power of the purse to stop everything. If it is what we say it is, if we have an administration that is essentially acting as an accomplice to drug cartels and human traffickers and bad actors of all sorts, including suspected terrorists, if that's what this administration is doing, then everything stops. Rather than taking a scalp from Homeland Security, which you're not going to take, but acting in the direction of the Secretary of Homeland Security to say, look, we're serious about this. We're holding people accountable. We're going after. We did what we could within our power to depose the Homeland Security Secretary. And so then what would happen if he was removed? Biden would get a different stooge. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. 64636DA, turnkey.pro text line. So that's why I get it. And by the way, I mean, it's not just on the matter of border security. Mayorkas is certainly, but again, this is administration directive. He's just a functionary. I mean, the misinformation board they were trying to stand up in Homeland Security, and I think probably still in some form or fashion de facto is set up, to enforce the newspeak of the new Marxists. Speaker Johnson was asked about not this specifically, but sort of the whole imbroglio, and most specifically about the House Republicans' opposition to what Lankford and McConnell are attempting to negotiate in the Senate. Surrender. Despite, we talked about it yesterday, despite what Jim Lankford, Senator from Oklahoma, said over the weekend on Fox News Sunday, it doesn't make sense to me what he's trying to sell, that this is what they're negotiating is border security enhancement, because nobody on the other side appears to want that. And a little bit later in the show, we'll get to why. I've got a memo from Cleta Mitchell, well-regarded election attorney, one of Trump's election attorneys, on the matter of illegals voting, like in this election. So we'll get to that in terms of why this may be the posture of an administration that seems to be suffering politically for the open borders policy, but is going forward anyway with it. So back to House Speaker Mike Johnson. You know, it's sort of what they're doing and what they're not doing. It's they're focused on they're not going along with Senate Republicans, and that's good. And they're doing something and moving articles of impeachment on Mayorkas, and that's fine. I mean, it's not a hill to die on for me, so I'm fine with it. But it still bothers me because I think all hands should be on deck. All chips should be put to the middle with respect to the power of the purse. That's the only thing that D.C. understands. And the problem, of course, that Speaker Johnson has is his caucus, and he doesn't have the votes for it. I understand that, but I think you continue to prosecute that case inside the caucus and to the public and just build the pressure. Because if there's one thing we know about most of these politicians is they are subject to pressure. Most of the politicians in office, this just in, are not people of principle. They are people of purpose, and their purpose is to get reelected. Thus, they are susceptible to pressure. Johnson on the Senate immigration bill and whether or not he's, just in service to Trump on it. Here's what he had to say.
The former president has made it clear that he doesn't want you guys to move forward on this, and judging by his comments, he clearly wants to campaign on this issue. Have you spoken to him about the Senate proposal, and are you simply trying to kill this to help him out in the campaign?
No, Manu, that's absurd. We have a responsibility here to do our duty. Our duty is to do right by the American people, to protect the people. The first and most important job of the federal government is to protect its citizens. We're not doing that under President Biden. We have only a tiny, as you know, razor-thin, actually a one-vote majority right now in the House. Our majority is small. We only have it in one chamber, but we're trying to use every ounce of leverage that we have to make sure that this issue is addressed. I have talked to former President Trump about this issue at length, and he understands that. He understands that we have a responsibility to do here. The president, of course, President Trump, wants to secure the country. President Trump is the one that talked about border security before anyone else did. He ran on, as you remember, building the wall. Why? Because he saw this catastrophe coming. He knew that if we did not get control of it, we would be in this situation. And that's why President Trump took executive actions. He used his executive authority to get that system under control. President Biden came in reflexively and did exactly the opposite. And that is what has caused this crisis. It is well documented. I'm happy to share with you all, if you haven't seen it yet, our documentation of the 64 actions they've taken. At least half of those, more than half, could be immediately reversed with a stroke of a pen. And Joe Biden refuses to do it. And it is outrageous to us.
Mark, Southside, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Good morning, Dan. What the Republicans are doing now is just for optics. It's too late. The Democrats already accomplished their goal with the open borders. When they took over the Congress and you were talking about the power of the purse, they could have done this. They could have used that 2 years ago when they took it over, and they did nothing with it. To me, it's just optics. They already accomplished their goal with all the millions that came in. They don't care anymore what happened.
Yeah, there might be something to that, Mark. Thanks for the call. Pat in Lockport.
Yeah, good morning. I agree totally with the prior caller that he actually took my words. If this impeachment goes through, it's not going to go through the Senate. But, Dan, two things. Why can't they just still work on the articles of impeachment, impeach this guy? I'm so sick and tired of these people getting away with actual murder, and then close the purse. I mean, the SOB in the White House is talking about trickle-down Bidenomics. How about trickle-down stupidity? It starts at the top. I'm just sick of what's going on in our country.
Thanks for the call, Pat. Coming up at 5:38, we'll pick up this discussion and fold in what the big guy, Mr. 10%, President Biden, had to say in response to what you heard from Speaker Johnson in part. That's at 5:38. Now we check the headlines with Mike Scott.
Dan, good morning. And at 5:31, we have 37 degrees in Chicago. And as you're talking about here on Chicago's Morning Answer, House Republicans are a step closer to impeaching DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas over his handling of the southern border crisis. New York Congresswoman Elise Stefanik.
Mayorkas and Joe Biden have failed the American people, and Secretary Mayorkas is responsible for the devastation and destruction and the implementation of the failed Biden border policies.
The vote to advance their impeachment articles have passed, paving the way for a vote by the full House. That could come as soon as next week. Testimony of the mother of Oxford High School shooter Ethan Crumbley continues today in Michigan. Jennifer Crumbley is facing charges including involuntary manslaughter in the deaths of 4 students and the wounding of others. Wind and rain taking aim at California this week as 2 atmospheric rivers are set to bring storms, the first in Northern California today. American travelers are being warned about visiting Jamaica. State Department issuing a travel advisory last week saying violent crimes like homicide and armed robbery are common. The Wall Street Journal reportedly planning major layoffs at its Washington, D.C. bureau this week. The move involves a number of layoffs at its Washington-based economics coverage team, and some of those moving to New York. A group of protesters are blasting the city of Chicago for rejecting their permit application to protest by Chicago's water tower ahead of the DNC in August.
The city should not stand in our way. They should be empowering us to march.
A lawyer for the demonstrators, Joe DeCola, says the city suggested they march in Grant Park. Activists are planning an appeal. Authorities say an Amtrak train crashed into a milk truck in Colorado at a rail crossing, badly injuring the engineer and sending 3 passengers to the hospital. The 69 passengers on board the derailed train were headed to Chicago from San Francisco. 3 Chicago men are charged with taking part in a scheme to sell fake IDs to foreign nationals in Chicago, mostly Venezuelan migrants. Cook County Sheriff's Police arrested the trio last week.
Some of the people we have taken into custody have told us they were literally directed on what to steal, how much to steal that would get you this ID and that ID.
Sheriff Tom Dart, authorities say the suspect sold the ID cards to migrants so they could then gain employment. Again, all 3 face felony charges. And 6 are hospitalized and recovering. After Tuesday morning, they were exposed to an unknown substance at an industrial facility in Chicago. According to Berwyn Fire, several people were dropped off by their manager at an urgent care facility in that city after they were covered with an unknown substance after an explosion that happened at a facility in Chicago. After they were dropped off, the odor spread through the urgent care. Then several healthcare workers had to be taken to different hospitals due to exposure. Fire officials say they now believe they know what the workers may have been exposed to. An Illinois lawmaker is pushing legislation that could limit how often police pull over drivers for speeding and other traffic offenses. Illinois State Rep. Justin Slaughter of Chicago introduced Bill 4603, which calls for several key controversial changes to the Illinois Vehicle Code. One change handcuffs police by preventing them from pulling over someone speeding over 25 miles per hour in Illinois. The bill also prevents officers from submitting any evidence from the traffic stop at trial, even with consent of the driver. And that includes failure to wear a seatbelt or excessive window tinting. Slaughter was one of the lead sponsors of the Safety Act. The Bulls lost to Toronto 118-107 last night and visit the Hornets tonight. Big Ten hoops fighting Illini. Road win over Ohio State, 87-75. Northwestern busy tonight. The men take on number 2 Purdue. The Lady Cats take on number 3 Iowa. The news a service of Fox Valley Coins. Bring your gold or silver in store today. Each item is priced right in front of you. The coins never leave your sight. Receive cash or check right on the spot. FoxValleyCoins.com. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Mike Gallagher believes Americans have had it.
The Fulton County District Attorney, who is persecuting Trump for election integrity, and she is evidently up to her eyeballs in a massive personal scandal. Americans are not going to stand for this kind of obscenity.
The Mike Gallagher Show. Weekdays at 9, right before Dennis Prager at 11 on AM 560. The Answer.
The IRS finally caught up with Louie.
I hadn't paid my taxes in 8 years. I owe the IRS a lot of money.
Louie was in deep trouble.
We're going to take your house, put a lien on your bank account, garnish your pay. They don't care. They're going to take your paycheck.
Louie found out about Optima Tax Relief, the leading tax resolution firm. A-plus rated by the Better Business Bureau, they've resolved over $1 billion for their clients.
Optima Tax, they help me. They calm me down. They make me feel comfortable, and I trust them.
Louie has a lot to be thankful for.
I don't owe the IRS anymore, and I'm able to live a comfortable life, a lot better life. It was because of Optima Tax.
For tax help you can trust, call Optima now for a free consultation. Take it from Louie.
If you owe the IRS, don't go it alone. Give Optima Tax a call. They can help you.
Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief.
Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
50 years of precision tooling. Now that's a lot of job shop work and custom parts. And it's why Bruscher Machining is the go-to CNC turning and machining company in Chicagoland. If you have a custom project, whether it's a single prototype or a short-run production of a few thousand pieces, give them a call today for your free custom quote. 630-876-1661. Or visit BruscherMachining.com. That's BRUCHER Machining.com. They also provide heat treating, balancing, plating, and surface coating, welding, and fabrication, plus project management. Bruscher Machining guarantees to consistently deliver high-quality parts and solutions on time for reasonable prices. Yeah, everyone says that, but the proof is in the tooling. Stop by to meet their team of seasoned pros and tour the facility located in West Chicago. To learn more about how CNC machining can turn your tough project into an operational reality, contact Bruscher Machining today for your free custom quote. 630-876-1661.
Don't let a cold, sinus infection, or allergies ruin your day. Breathe easier, sleep better, and feel healthier with Navage. Visit Navage.com, Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, or a store near you.
539. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. Just a couple of trouble spots. Humboldt Park area in the city, an accident division in California, and delays on the Bishop Ford this morning inbound 111 into the Ryan Merge. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Mild with clouds giving way to sun, a high of 46 today. 37 right now, 38 at Midway. Your next news update at 6. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560 The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson.
If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy talking about the Mayorkas impeachment moving forward out of the House Homeland Security Committee yesterday. And then, of course, the larger backdrop of all things border security related. Are House Republicans doing enough? I would say no, but is Speaker Mike Johnson doing everything he can? I would say yes. That those seem to be contradictions, but they're really not. He can't, put a gun to the head of every member of his caucus, and if they're unwilling to go along with drawing that line and exercising that power of the purse when it comes to border security, that you will make these policy changes or we will not authorize spending, period. He just doesn't have the votes at this point. That's what we understand. So it's frustrating, but that's the dynamic. Against that backdrop, the big guy, Mr. 10%, President Biden, that is, was asked about what he's doing or not doing. Are you sure you're doing everything you can, Mr. President?
With executive authority, or is there more you could do absent
I've done all I can do. Give me the power. I've asked for the very day I got in office. Give me the border patrol. Give me the people. Give me the people, the judges. Give me the people who can stop this and make it work for us.
Yeah, if he only had the power, if he only had the authority. He's done everything he can, folks.
Oh,
he's
such
done
a
his
liar.
part.
Liar. All he has to do is, with the stroke of a pen, he doesn't need congressional approval for anything, any congressional plan. And what I hate is he stands in front of a helicopter, so nobody can really understand what he's saying unless there's closed captioning.
Well, we understood quite clear what he said there. I've done all I can at the border. Give me the power. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. 646-36DA, turnkey.pro text line. As you heard from Mike Johnson before, the other Mike Scott, delivered the news. They've got a list of 64 actions that President Biden has taken, half of which could be undone with a stroke of a pen. So he has taken executive action in the direction of opening the borders.
Right.
What he won't do is take executive action. Somehow he magically lost the power that he used to open the borders. He won't use it to make policy changes at the borders.
Yeah,
So
didn't he take
that's where
94 executive actions from Trump to open the borders?
64 is what Mike Johnson referenced from the podium yesterday. So again, it's what I think Mark from the South Side said. I think that we're getting to that point where it's fairly clear that one, it's not really an invasion. I'm not sure I like that word because it eliminates the responsibility of the Biden administration. Do you break into my house if I invite you in? Do you invade my country if I invite you in?
That's true.
So that's the policy. He's done all he can to open the borders. He won't use the power that he has. He's made that abundantly clear. And the question becomes, well, if he's suffering politically for it, if you've got some Democrats in the House defecting to support the impeachment of Mayorkas to try to cover their backsides, then why would this administration do the things they're doing? Why would BLM Brandon and Jelly Belly and Hochul and Adams and blue state governors and big city Marxist mayors across the country, why would they do the things they're doing if it isn't to their political advantage, since we understand that is the prism through which they examine things? So, yeah. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, 646-36DA, turnkey.pro text line.
Got a text message in all capitals, build the wall, exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point. But we know why we're doing it. They want to, the Castro brothers, those ghoulish-looking twin brothers, look sinister. They want to turn Texas blue. That's the goal. They're like, it's red, it's going to be purple, and just wait, it's going to be blue someday.
Updating some stories about the huddled masses yearning to breathe free yesterday. ICE in Baltimore arrested a Salvadorian MS-13 member in the U.S. illegally who had been released from custody by the sanctuary jurisdiction in Montgomery County, despite a conviction for accessory to first-degree murder. They also ignored an ICE detainer. That's Montgomery County, but you could easily substitute Cook or Lake for Montgomery and Illinois for Maryland, couldn't you? Sure you could. We've done it. So now we're telling stories just like we tell stories of the murders du jour on the streets of Chicago.
Yeah.
The only difference is we have the ability to prevent these people, like members of MS-13, from coming into this country. We have the power and the ability to deport them if they are able to break into the country, but there's no interest in doing either. Mike Scott mentioned it in his newscast. Tom Dart at the podium. Oh, these migrants desperate to work are being manipulated by gangs to organize burglary rings to commit crimes in exchange for fake IDs.
Oh, yeah.
Hundreds of fake ID cards lined a table inside Cook County Sheriff's Department in Maywood on Tuesday morning. They were recovered last week as part of an underground investigation in a usual pattern of unreal blah, 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 blah. The vast majority of them were from Venezuela, said Dart. They're being used by criminal organizations to engage in small retail thefts.
No, they have
Small
a choice.
retail
They're
theft.
adults.
It sounds like an infomercial. Remember that
Yeah.
guy that used to be in the infomercial? You do it like small classified ads. You just put small classified ads in, and you put enough of them, and then you become a billionaire. Small retail thefts in exchange for fake Social Security cards, driver's license, green cards, so on and so forth. We've taken into custody, said Dart, have told us we're literally directed on what to steal, how much to steal, that would get you this ID and that ID. Oh
my God. But aren't these people adults and they could tell them, no, I want to follow the rules. Maybe now I want to start anew and be a good citizen and a good neighbor.
Is Tom Dart an adult?
No, not acting like one.
Could he tell them, well, you know what, that's a sad story, but you shouldn't come to this country knowing that you're not going to be able to work. I mean, we believed what Biden said, false promises. And this is well, okay, fine. Then I'm sorry to inform you that we have enemies inside the perimeter in this country who don't believe in the founding document, who don't believe in the rule of law. But I'm not one of them. And so you got a problem here. But that's not what Dart said. It's not what any of them say on the left. Why is that? So if this, for example, this Dart case with these people that are stealing in order to get for criminal gangs, in order to get, criminal burglary rings, in order to get IDs, then if they're the victims, then who is the predator? Just the burglary rings, or is it the people that enable them? The people that say, well, come on in. We don't have any plans for you. We don't have any process here. We're sort of doing this back of the pants. And so you get here, you get hooked up with these people, then you get arrested by local law enforcement. And you're saying, but wait, I was promised. Well, take it up with those making those telling those beautiful lies and making those empty promises, I suppose. Yeah. Why, oh, why? Jordan, Forest Park.
I don't think President Biden cares about the number of migrants that are shipped up to Illinois from Texas or to, these other states. Biden knows that there's no way the Republicans are going to carry Illinois, period. Doesn't matter. Trump's nominee, somebody else, doesn't matter. It's not going to happen. Maybe Abbott should be thinking about the swing states, sending the migrants there, and then maybe Biden will think twice about the whole issue.
Well, thanks for the call, Jordan. I mean, yeah, I agree to a certain extent. I was, offered this commentary last week saying that Abbott should pause on the buses to Chicago and send them to Lexington and send them to Tulsa and send a message to McConnell and to Langford. Send a message inside the party to those who are behaving like quislings inside the party. I agree.
And did you see the I-Team story that they did? We're paying when they want to leave. Some of the migrants that come to Chicago, we've had close to 40,000, but 4,327 have now come and gone, and we've paid, according to their records from the Illinois Department of Human Services, $775,000 to relocate people that don't want to stay here.
Yeah.
What in God's name is going on?
Well, what do you want to do? It's a paid vacation, not a great vacation, but we pay them to come, we pay them to stay, we pay them to leave.
Oh my God.
What, $775 for them to leave?
No, $775,000.
That's what I just said.
Travel-related expenses.
$775K. We've spent more than $1 billion on through the state's Medicaid program on migrants here. Phil in Maryville.
Hey, just wanted to say, Biden could have did exactly what Trump did, and that was tell Mexico you're not going to get the normal funding you do. Like normally they get $1 billion or $2 billion a year.
Yeah,
He could have cut it off like Trump.
Well, he could have. He could have done a lot of things that he didn't do and that he won't do. I mean, we talked about this last week. I think it was last week. Maybe it was 2 weeks ago now. I mean, remember the reporting on the demand that AMLO, the Mexican president, made of Biden in order to provide more security at the border on the Mexican side of the border and slow the flow. Remember what he did? He used to make billions of dollars, 10 million migrants path to citizenship in here illegally. 10 million. Yeah. Lift the sanctions on Cuba. Do this in Latin America. I mean, what does that tell you? Those demands that AMLO made, absurd demands, except not absurd to him. What does that tell you what he understands about the Biden position? So this sort of like what Biden could do, what should be done. I mean, it's like we do in Chicago and Illinois. They could do this when it comes to violent crime. They could do that on property taxes. Well, right. They could do a lot of things. I'm not going to. The question is, what do you do? What do you do in response is the question. All this like, here's what a bunch of Marxists could do. They could advance policies consistent with free minds, free markets, and the rule of law. Sure, they could. What prospect do you think there is of that occurring? Larry in Elmhurst.
Hey, good morning. This is really going to turn into a blank show, but not your show, these illegals. But I was watching a video about 20 of these illegals from Venezuela, I believe they said on the video, jumped to New York cops and were beating the hell out of them.
Yeah.
You know, the ones that came here that said, we're just here for make a living. These are the gangbangers from South America that are here. And we're going to...
Thanks for the call, Larry. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. But no, have you seen that video?
Mm-hmm. Military-aged men from China, from Africa, different. I mean, from all over.
Well, I'm talking about specifically the video of that group of young, I think it was Venezuelan men that jumped these New York City cops. Yeah. So again, tell me, you want to break out the Emma Lazarus poem and tell me again about those huddled masses yearning to breathe free. See, the difference here is, on this show, is we understand reality. That some people, yes, some people are good people trying to get to this country for a better life, yes. And some people are not. So it's not all of one or all of another. When you're talking about millions of people, it is always going to be mixed nuts. It's going to be a mixed bag. Some really good people, industrious people, God-fearing people, people that would be an asset to this country. And a lot of people that don't fit any of those descriptors. This is why, I mean, this feels like Schoolhouse Rock. This is why you have to have a system in place to discern the good people from the bad people.
Hey, so simple.
Gosh, I should run for president. These wonderful insights. This is how straightforward it is. So again, and we'll get to it at the 6 o'clock hour, why? If it's as simple as I laid out, and I mean the implementation, of course, is not as simple, but with the resources and the ingenuity this country has, it's pretty simple. So why? Why are things the way they are? That's the question we try to answer on this show. Mike in Littleton, Colorado, that is.
Good morning, and thank you for taking my call. Just three things. You forgot to mention that they paid to vote. So that $700,000 covers that, and then
we'll get to that. Yep,
it's all theater, both sides. The replacement for this guy will be as bad or worse than he is. We have precedent to believe that, and quite honestly, this guy Johnson, when he said, "Oh, we have the barest of majorities in the House," yeah, dummy. Why do you think that might be? And that's it. I mean, they're going to give these people the right to vote. That's what's next. Get them in here first, and then they're going to distill it down legally so that they give them the right to vote in localities and states where it's strategically important. and then by the time it works through the adjudication process, it doesn't matter. The votes have been counted, and then we're going to have to hear people have been disenfranchised if they're tried to be stopped and everything else. And I'll say this one last thing. Still falls back to the 40% of Americans that are willing to live with this crap and through their vote or whatever virtue they think they get of it, condone it. And it's killing us, and it's sad.
Thanks for the call, Mike. Yeah, Mike's definitely over the target. Greg in Schaumburg.
Boy, that last caller was great. Hi, Dan and Amy. First of all, what I want to talk about is the fact that the Democrats, with the thought of bringing these people in to make them citizens, there's simultaneously something going on, Dan, in addition to all of the migrant crime that you're just talking about, and that is the increased, typically from the black community, typically from young men, of wielding type crimes, the Clockwork Orange crimes that, where they just walk up to people and just knock the
yeah, the droogs. Yeah, right.
There's 3 of them on the streets of Cincinnati that happened this past week. And what's really interesting is they've never experienced this before. You would never have that in Cincinnati. And the USA Today paper that is down there does not have it on the front page in any way, shape, or form.
They need Jerry Springer back, but he's unavailable.
Well, no, real quick, don't forget about that Venezuelan who broke a police officer's hand. Remember, he was having some psychotic episode. He was on Elston near Belmont and jumped on cars on the street, and they still can't find him.
Well, he's trying to fit into Chicago.
Oh,
you can't blame him. That's trying to keep up with the Joneses here. Craig in Mount Greenwood.
Oh, hey, good morning, Dan and Amy, and thank you for taking my call. Yeah, this whole situation, I agree with you, Dan, about with the person. But the fact that they don't do that, the Republicans can't get directly there, there's a lot of traitors over there. But Biden and his band of pirates and all that, they all are dirty on this and everything and want to keep this going. And they should follow through on doing whatever they can on any one of them. Starting with Mayorkas, because he's responsible for this whole, responsible as he's the cabinet or whatever he is for these people. But follow through and do something because they do nothing. They never do nothing. So they need to do something.
Thanks for the call, Craig. George in Naperville.
Yeah, Dan, this president is so busy telling scary stories about mega monsters that he doesn't have time for doing his job.
Thanks for the call, George. All right, coming up at 6:06, let's pick up where Mike from Littleton, Colorado was taking us, and that's on voting in terms of explaining why is this transpiring. That's 6:06.
And Dan, I think we should make this a daily thing. Expose her for the fraud she is. We'll explain. But now let's head into the newsroom and say good morning to Mike Scott.
A group of protesters blasting the city over rejecting their permit application. We'll tell you why. Conditions at a Chicago migrant shelter and inability to provide critical resources go before a city council committee. WIND Chicago News Time is 6 o'clock.
It's been 148 years since this happened. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. House Republicans take a step toward impeaching a cabinet member, Alejandro Mayorkas, blaming the head of Homeland Security for a record surge of illegal immigration. Congressman Jim Jordan tells Fox.
Mayorkas is the one who's carried out this policy. Mayorkas is the one who hasn't been square with the American people when he's testified in front of the United States Congress.
So the Homeland Security Committee voted to advance 2 impeachment articles to the full House last night.
Democrats, however, called the proceedings a sham.
This isn't about actually solving the problem for my Republican colleagues. It is about having an issue.
Congressman Seth Magaziner urged Republicans to instead stop blocking legislation to address problems at the border.
That's Fox's Carmen Roberts. We're still waiting on a U.S. retaliation for the attack on a base in Jordan that killed 3 American soldiers. President Biden says he has decided how to respond. Republican Congressman Derek Van Orden, a retired Navy SEAL, just told Fox he doesn't trust the president, but...
You have to strike these proxies, send the message to Iran. If you fund anybody that's going to attack us, then we're going to have a further conversation.
Breaking news out of the White House this morning. President Biden will travel to East Palestine, Ohio next month. which Republicans have demanded. After a toxic train derailment there a year ago this Saturday, some residents have been critical of the federal response and cleanup. An attempt to kick former President Trump off another 2024 ballot, like in Maine and Colorado, has failed. The Illinois Board of Elections unanimously rejected the push by Trump critics who claim he led an insurrection with the Capitol riot, disqualifying him under a constitutional provision.
The vote, a blow to Democrat-led efforts to block the former president's 2024 bid. And all a moot point should the U.S. Supreme Court also rule in the former president's favor, as it soon takes up his appeal of Colorado's ballot ban. Efforts the likely GOP presidential nominee has called election interference.
Fox's Jeff Bonasso. Today, former President Trump will meet with Teamsters Union leaders and some members. America's listening to Fox News.
37 degrees in Chicago, 6:02 on AM 560, The Answer, and good morning. I'm Mike Scott. A group of protesters blasting the city of Chicago for rejecting their permit application to protest by Chicago's water tower ahead of the DNC in August. The group saying the Department of Transportation denied them the permit.
Chicago is home to an inspiring, dynamic community of longtime organizers and newly mobilized youth activists. And for the city and the Democratic Party to shut out those voices, suggesting instead that they march in a straight line in Grant Park where no one will hear them, offends the First Amendment, and it sets a regressive tone for the DNC.
A lawyer for the demonstrators, Joe DeCola. Conditions in Chicago's migrant shelters and the inability to provide critical resources to migrants who crossed the border illegally and ended up here in Chicago took center stage at a city council committee hearing on Tuesday.
Over the past 2 years, the city has worked hard to meet the needs of new arrivals, but real concerns have also arisen as to the conditions in our shelters and landing zones.
A warehouse in the Pilsen neighborhood is one of the shelters that has reportedly brought in some of the most concerns, including unconfirmed reports of inadequate food, bed bug and rodent infestations, and a lack of containment for infectious disease. 3 Chicago men are charged with taking part in a scheme to sell fake IDs to foreign nationals arriving in Chicago, mostly Venezuelan migrants. Cook County Sheriff's Police arrested the trio last week.
Some of the people we have taken into custody have told us they were literally directed on what to steal, how much to steal that would get you this ID and that ID.
Sheriff Tom Dart, all 3 face felony charges. An investigation is underway after a body was pulled from the Chicago River on the Lower West Side. Chicago Police Department Marine Unit recovered the body yesterday. The person's cause of death has not yet been released. Wisconsin Governor Tony Evers is vetoing legislative maps that were passed by Republicans in that state legislature last week, as he said he would. The veto means the Wisconsin Supreme Court may decide which maps are used. Chicago sports, Bulls lost to the Raptors 118-107. College hoops, Fighting Illini, a Big Ten road win over Ohio State. They host Nebraska on Sunday, while the Northwestern Wildcats busy on the hard court. The men take on number 2 Purdue, while the Lady Cats will take on number 3 Iowa. The news, a service of Dan and Amy 24/7. Enjoy uninterrupted programming from Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson around the clock, all day, every day. Listen now, Dan and Amy 247.com. A check of traffic and weather is on the way next on AM 560.
Dr. Sebastian Gorka says it's up to us.
Americans' love of family, love of truth. That is why we will. Well, that's why we've already won in the big scheme of things, and that's why we will always win. Why? Because that is our fuel. And the other side's fuel is what? Hatred. It's up to us to save this nation.
America First with Dr. Sebastian Gorka. Afternoons at 3, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
It's a new year, and that means New Year's resolutions. Hi, Amy Jacobson here, and if one of your New Year's resolutions was to do more to help others, then we want to let you know that you still have the opportunity to make a difference in the lives of children in Latin America and the Caribbean through Food for the Poor. Your donation of just $80 provides food for an entire year for 2 children. That's life-changing. Just because the Christmas season is over, that doesn't mean that the need has gone away. Food for the Poor is a faith-based organization that works with partners on the ground to make sure these children are fed. You know, we talk a lot about the root causes of our immigration crisis, and one of those causes is the situation in many of these countries. This is your chance to help take care of others. To make a donation of any amount, just visit 560theanswer.com/food for the poor. That's 560theanswer.com/food for the poor. Thanks again for your generosity.
Markets are trembling. Don't be a casualty of economic upheaval. Do what I did and embrace the safety of gold. Talk to the experts at Noble Gold Investments today, and you can claim a free 3-ounce silver American Virtue coin. With gold at an all-time high, you need to jump on this. Just use the promo code GOLD. Go to noblegoldinvestments.com now.
Past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals, including gold, involves risks. Consult with your tax attorney or financial professional before making an investment decision.
Looking for top-notch personal protection? The Smith & Wesson Equalizer is here to level the playing field. Easy to rack slide, easy to control ergonomic grip. It's designed for you. With a 10, 13, and 15 round magazine included, size up for better control or size down for easier concealment. Don't miss out on the opportunity to upgrade your safety. Visit your local dealer now. To learn more about the Equalizer, visit smith-wesson.com. Smith & Wesson, empowering Americans. All capacity sizes may not be available in your jurisdiction. Be sure to check your local laws and regulations.
Sick and tired of achy joints? Dread the idea of surgery? Well, you need to call QC Kinetics. Hi, it's Amy Jacobson. Listen, the state of healthcare is always changing. The old ideas like steroids, cortisone shots, surgery are no longer your only options. Regenerative medicine at QC Kinetics is transforming lives with innovative, non-surgical, drug-free treatments that deliver lasting results. Knee pain, back pain, shoulder pain from arthritis or injury? Well, don't let this pain keep you from living your best. QC Kinetics' advanced state-of-the-art treatments harness and direct your body's natural ability to restore and repair damaged joint tissue. Make 2024 the year you reclaim your mobility and independence. Walk and run, play and live. Call QC Kinetics now for a free consultation. New locations, folks, in Crystal Lake and Gurnee. Call 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955. 312-809-5955.
It is 6:08, and let's check the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. Stevenson inbound, beginning to see the early heavies. Central to Kedzie, 26 in to DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Accident on the Dan Ryan inbound on the off-ramp to Roosevelt Road. Also delays on the Bishop Ford right now. You're beginning to see brake lights 111th into the Ryan merge. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. In our QC Kinetics Weather Center, here's our meteorologist, Steve Williams.
Mild today, clouds will give way to a bit of sun. Our high today, 46. Patchy clouds this evening, low 38. Partly sunny, mild tomorrow, the high 50. And then clouds and cooler on Friday, the high 43. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
It is 37 at O'Hare, 38 at Midway. Your next news update, 6:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. First hour, we talked about, I don't want to say misdirections from the Republican Party, but proxies for doing what should be done. You know, the power of the purse, not a performative impeachment of Ali Mayorkas, as much as he richly deserves it, being a henchman for the big guy. You know, the big guy ultimately, this is, you know, they're going up the food chain instead of down the food chain. Right. To the big guy for impeachment, maybe to be included with charges lodged against Mayorkas, to be included in the other ultimate articles of impeachment against the big guy. Of course, the focus there has instead been on Biden Incorporated. And then the misdirection plays, these are misdirection plays from the left, as was presented, good example presented yesterday during that Homeland Security Committee proceeding, unfurling the articles of impeachment against Mayorkas. So a good example of this. So we don't have this national discussion on why. The why is this occurring, which we're going to get to. Good example of this. This guy, Robert Garcia, he's a Marxist congressman from California, and he used his time to, what did George from Naperville say? Tell nightmares, tell scary stories, to induce nightmares about the coming MAGA dictatorship. There's going to be moats with alligators, and people are going to be shooting migrants in the leg, and so on and so forth.
I want to remind the public that Donald Trump and House Republicans also have their own ideas for the border. So let's review the majority's border ideas that they've actually presented. Here they are. Donald Trump actually has said that he wants to build alligator moats along the border. That's one of his incredible ideas. Another idea that Donald Trump has promoted is he actually wants to electrify the border fence and maybe even put some spikes on the border. That's another Donald Trump and MAGA majority border idea. Another idea, which I'm not sure how well it would go, is he wants to actually bomb northern Mexico with missiles. That's another Trump idea. And finally, I think one of the ones that I think is the most grotesque is suggestions that instead we should maybe just shoot migrants in the legs as they cross the border. So once again, the Donald Trump and MAGA plan is alligator moats, bombing northern Mexico, shooting migrants in the legs, and electrifying the fence and putting spikes on them. That is the Donald Trump border plan.
Yeah, things that go bump in the night. Follow up, Congressman. Is that what President Trump did when he was president? Remember the time when he was president from 2017 to 2021? Is that what he did? So here's where this comes from, by the way, which I haven't seen anybody pick up. They should have, because this guy was front and center at the White House briefing yesterday. This is where this comes from. They just recycle this stuff. Again, the scary stories. Robert Garcia should have been holding a flashlight under his face while he was telling that tale about the MAGA plan for border security. This comes from New York Times reporter Michael Shear. So there was a book that Michael Shear and another New York Times reporter wrote in 2019 about Trump and Trump immigration policy. And they report that, Trump in private conversations has suggested, alligators in the Rio, in moats or in the Rio Grande somewhere, and winging migrants trying to come across the border and bombing northern Mexico and all the things that Garcia said. So they just recycle this. This is all one of these, unnamed sources type of tracks against Trump that were, multitudinous during his 4 years. So it's important, just so you understand, that they just produce what they need, so they have reference material. It's the wrap-up smear, as Nancy Pelosi famously described it. You get the New York Times reporter to report on it so that Robert Garcia 5 years later now, can use it when it's convenient in a proceeding against the Secretary of Homeland Security.
We got the best text message. When did South Park start writing scripts for Congress?
Yeah, right. Exactly. So Michael Shear this week was in the pool querying KJP, White House spokesperson, and it was over the big guy's rhetoric, because Biden's rhetoric has ratcheted up about getting tough on the border and shutting down the border and so on and so forth. Oh, he's starting to sound like Trump. Of course he is, because it's a way to middle the issue. I want what you want. Whatever you say you want, I want. Now I'm over here doing something else, but I can mouth the words. But then you have the comm shop of the left making sure, hey, wait a second. You got to stay on message here. Don't get too far afield. Stay on message. Stay on point. Don't worry. We got you. I can whip up another book with fantasies about space invaders and whatever else we can make up about the coming MAGA dictatorship, so you have more reference material. But don't go getting soft on the message. Listen to this exchange between Shear and KJP.
Back in the winter of 2018 and the spring of 2019, President Trump vowed to shut down the border with Mexico using almost the identical language that the president used on Friday. Many, if not most, if not practically all Democrats called that xenophobic and even racist. Why shouldn't people make the same conclusion about this president's threat to shut down the entire border with Mexico?
So we believe the new enforcement tools that currently don't exist, that will be, we believe that will be part of this bipartisan agreement, will be fair. We believe it'll be tough, but it will be fair.
But he didn't say he wanted to use, excuse me, sorry.
Yeah, no,
he didn't say, on day one, I will use enhanced enforcement to improve the processing of people at the border. He said, I will shut the border down, which suggests a total rejection of all people attempting to cross the border without a visa or without proper authorization, which stands in contravention to decades of international and U.S. law that governs the movement of people around the globe and the refugees and asylum system.
Yeah, no,
so why isn't that the same thing that Trump did?
No, I understand your question. What I'm saying to you, the new enforcement tools, right, that we
and
believe do not
back in the winter of 2018.
KJP doesn't know how to get out of it, so she just repeats the canned answer she has, because she's a dimwit.
And reading it from a book.
Yeah, right. She's got her binders full of canned answers, so she doesn't have to use whatever's left between her ears. But the point is this: the big guy, he's been a company man so long and he's so diminished that sometimes he forgets what his lines are. So that's why you have Michael Scheer there to remind KJP, to remind the president, you don't use language like shut down the border. And KJP dances around. No, of course, Michael, you're right. Of course. Yes, very good. I get it. He's got to stay on message. He can't be using the Trump rhetoric. I get it. So I'll just talk about enhanced enforcement measures that'll make the processing more efficient and so on. It's really fascinating to take a step back and watch how this ecosystem operates. And that's why, so the Garcia thing yesterday, that connects it to Scheer because it's ripped from his book from 2019. And then you see this little dance that's done by Scheer and KJP sending a message back to the Biden from the comm shop saying, these are your lines. Really interesting. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. 64636DA, turnkey.pro text line. Okay. We have to get to the why, oh, why is this happening?
Yes.
Since we've set it up for the last hour. I got this 2-page memo that Cleta Mitchell authored. Cleta Mitchell is a longtime, highly respected election attorney in D.C. She knows her stuff. She's one of Trump's election attorneys. In fact, she was on the infamous Raffensperger call. I've made mention of many times because Cleta Mitchell's on the call. She and other attorneys that I don't want to go down the rabbit hole of Raffensperger, but I'm just giving some frame of reference here. I've actually used Cleta Mitchell in campaigns before too for her legal expertise. So, overview of the threat of non-citizen voting in 2024 is the title of her memo. Federal law prohibits non-citizens from voting in U.S. elections. However, the prohibition is essentially mooted by caveats in the law. The Supreme Court has ruled that states may choose not to require documentary proof of citizenship in order to vote in a federal election. In point of fact, in more than just may choose to, there's case law. In 2013, you'll remember the Supreme Court declared invalid under the National Voter Registration Act a law in Arizona that was passed a decade earlier that would require proof of citizenship in order to register to vote in Arizona. And federal courts at the lower levels have also ruled as violative of the National Voter Registration Act similar measures requiring proof of citizenship to register to vote. So that's what she's referring to. So, yes, while the top line is federal law prohibits non-citizens from voting in U.S. elections, underneath that is, well, the courts have hamstrung states from requiring proof of citizenship to register in the first place because of the National Voter Registration Act. So it's one thing up here, but then it's another thing, in operation. Additionally, let me go on with what Cleta writes. The states must accept the federal registration form for purposes of registering to vote. The National Voter Registration Act states must accept the federal registration form for purposes of registering to vote, and there's no language in the National Voter Registration Act to require such documentation, proof of citizenship. Accordingly, the only protection against illegals voting is a signature attestation that the person registering is a citizen, which SCOTUS has deemed sufficient. The Biden administration has ordered every federal agency to register everyone who comes into contact with the agency. So she asks, what protections exist to stop the registration of migrants by the Department of Homeland Security? Boy, I'd like that question pushed on Mayorkas and the Department of Homeland Security since he's in the crucible right now. That's a big one. What protections exist to stop the registration of migrants by DHS when the Biden administration has ordered every federal agency to register everyone who comes into contact with the agency? By the way, she goes on, there are myriad left-wing advocacy groups who register illegals to vote. That's true. Mm-hmm. The National Voter Registration Act also mandates that state DMVs register every person who does business with the DMV. There's no program or training by DMVs in most states to obtain proof of citizenship before registering people to vote. In many states, such as Georgia, a person is automatically registered at the time of coming into contact with the DMV unless the person opts out of registration. No proof of citizenship is required.
Oh, my gosh.
This is also true for persons coming into contact with state social service agencies. There are, in other words, no protections, no safeguards to ensure that persons registered are in fact citizens. Non-citizens are issued driver's licenses in most states, and non-citizens are issued Social Security numbers. There are no safeguards, she repeats for emphasis, no safeguards to protect against non-citizens registering to vote, and there are no safeguards to protect against non-citizens voting once registered, other than, I would say, massive ballot integrity programs that challenges in real time with lawyers at the ready in courts of law non-citizens who vote, since that's still a violation of federal law. But so it's a violation of federal law at the top, but then all of the infrastructure underneath is providing a path to non-citizens voting in federal elections in contravention of federal law. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. 64636DA, turnkey.pro text line. Here's another tool, another pool of voters.
Okay.
Many states, she goes on, such as North Carolina and Wisconsin, two swing states, allow the use of student IDs for voting purposes.
Oh,
well, foreign students are issued student IDs, thus creating yet another pool of potential illegals voting. The federal statute governing overseas and military voting also does not require proof of citizenship in order to register and cast a vote from overseas. The Uniformed and Overseas Citizens Absentee Voting Act allows persons to essentially register and vote by email without a residence in the United States and without any proof of citizenship. The program was intended to facilitate military personnel and their families in voting while deployed. However, in 2020, this law, under this law, the vote was 63% civilian. 63% of the votes from overseas were civilian, not military votes. There are leftist advocacy groups mobilizing in other countries to turn out expats to vote, and the failure to require proof of U.S. citizenship creates yet another pool of non-citizen voting. That's a lot of pools of non-citizen voting.
Well,
and the pool's just got about 7 times bigger in the last 3 years.
So that's what what I heard you say. They're letting, what I think now, they're letting in thousands a day and have been, as you mentioned, for the last 3 years in order to rig this election so that Biden wins.
That's what I'm saying.
That's what you're saying.
That's what she's saying. That's what Cleta Mitchell is saying. Oh, I mean, what they're what they are or not attempting to do. I mean, you can, draw your own conclusions about what they're attempting to do. But this is the environment in which we're all operating.
Mm-hmm.
This is reality. Now, how do people play the game with this reality, in this reality? Well, you draw your own conclusions. So one of the things that she recommends, which is, really good, and, talk about asleep at the switch. This is where instead of, you can walk and chew gum at the same time. So go ahead and have your impeachment of Mayorkas. But where's Speaker Mike Johnson and House Republican leadership saying we need to amend the National Voter Registration Act post haste, toot sweet? That's exactly what Cleta Mitchell says. Both the National Voter Registration Act and the act that governs overseas voting, I just described, need to be amended to require documentary proof of citizenship to register to vote in a federal election. Also, there's a recommendation she makes, and they're spot on. I hope somebody's listening to Cleta Mitchell. She knows everybody in D.C. The National Voter Registration Act should be amended to require that a disclosure be made to every person before being registered to vote that registration is for U.S. citizens only. If you're not a citizen of the United States, you can't register to vote, and registering to vote if you're not a citizen is a federal crime. Provision in the Federal Criminal Code prohibiting non-citizen registration and voting should be strengthened to make it possible to actually prosecute offenders. And she goes on this. But, I mean, the amending of the laws to make it clear and to end the wink and a nod empowerment of federal and, thanks to the courts because of their interpretation of the National Voter Registration Act, state agencies to register, to allow non-citizens to register, and there's no real protection short of whatever the Republican Party can put together in terms of ballot integrity programs, because it doesn't seem like the Democrats are very interested in ballot integrity programs. Gosh, I wonder why. I mean, that has to be addressed. I'm a little embarrassed that I didn't think of this too. This is something that I'm surprised. I'm surprised myself. I didn't think about it, but I didn't realize until I read her memo, just how wired up the infrastructure, both at federal and then the state level too, is to facilitate these pools of voters, non-citizens, to essentially become voters. This is big stuff.
It's scary. This
is
when people lose sleep at night. I mean, my dad kept telling me, Amy, we are never going to get our country back if we don't stop this. And I think that they might stop it if Biden's reelected. But they've been doing this for 3 years, letting people pour into this country.
Well, here's the thing about this, right? People get the sense, that we're going to lose our country, and we're essentially doing this to ourselves. We're self-immolating. But they say, well, and then you lose our country because you're afraid of people from other, you're xenophobic, you're this, you're that. No. Please. People instinctively know. And so this provides the form to the function. This is what I'm talking about. It's the general indictment of this open borders policy, which is you treat non-citizens as citizens, or in many cases, better than citizens. And that's just wrong. That is not consistent with being a country that demands people play by the same set of rules. It's just morally wrong. And then you have all of these additional dangers that befall a country, whether it is on the public safety front or, this detail when it comes to free and fair elections. This is not a fair election. This is not a paradigm that says that translates into fair election, because it's against federal law, rightly so, for a non-citizen to vote, just like it would be in any other country.
Right.
Bill in LaSalle County, here on Chicago's Morning Answer.
This has been happening for years, and if you remember, it was called the Motor Voter Act. And if you go into the DMV, the first thing they do in Illinois is they ask you basically, are you registered to vote? Would you like to register to vote? Not, are you a U.S. citizen, or do you realize you have to be a U.S. citizen to vote? Tom Fighton from Judicial Watch, you had him on over a couple of years ago, and the state settled with Tom Fighton over its voter rolls. But what happened to the cleanup process of that? The only thing I understand is the Republican Party of Illinois got access to the voter rolls so that they could try to clean them up, not the states.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Bill. Well, right, it's here again. You have there are updates that they do to the voter rolls. I know Illinois particularly well, but the problem is, garbage in, garbage out. And so this is part of the ballot integrity program, which should be a 24/7 operation because, yeah, you've got to check the authorities and the quality of their data. So you have to check on the way up, and then you have to provide the material on the way down. In other words, you have to check your own government with respect to how good their record keeping is, and then you have to get the proper data so that you can provide good data to candidates and Republican Party organizations and volunteers and so forth when it comes to canvassing and, even more importantly, get out the vote efforts and Election Day ballot integrity program, poll watchers and the like. So, this needs to really be ratcheted up in terms of attention and notoriety. This needs to be included in the national conversation and debate about what's happening at the border straight away. And I'm glad Cleta Mitchell provided this framework for people to understand it and drive this conversation. All right, we'll pick it up on the other side, 6:36.
Yep, but now let's head into the newsroom. Here is Mike Scott.
6:32 here in Chicago, 37 degrees on AM 560, The Answer. House Republicans voting to advance their efforts to impeach Department of Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas.
Secretary Mayorkas' actions have forced our hand. We cannot allow this border crisis to continue. We cannot allow fentanyl to flood across our border, our criminals to waltz in undeterred. And we cannot allow a cabinet secretary with no regard for the separation of powers or the rule of law to remain in office.
Republican Mark Green of Tennessee. This morning, FBI Director Christopher Wray will warn that Chinese hackers are preparing to unleash havoc on Americans. In prepared congressional testimony submitted to committees, Wray and other top federal security officials will sound the alarm about Chinese efforts to target critical infrastructure, including electricity and natural gas. Farmers are blocking more traffic arteries across Belgium and France as they seek to disrupt trade at major ports. At the same time, they continue a move toward Brussels on the eve of a major EU summit. A judge says Elon Musk must give up a compensation package awarded by Tesla's board of directors that is potentially worth more than $55 billion. The ruling in a Delaware court comes 5 years after an activist shareholder lawsuit targeted Tesla. China Rivera is dead at the age of 91. The Broadway actress starred in West Side Story, Chicago, and Kiss of the Spider Woman. Her family said she died peacefully following a brief illness. A group of protesters blasting the city of Chicago for rejecting their permit application to protest by Chicago's water tower ahead of the DNC in August.
They should not stand in our way. They should be empowering us to march.
Conditions at Chicago's migrant shelters and the inability to provide critical resources to migrants who crossed the border illegally but ended up here in Chicago took center stage at a city council committee hearing Tuesday.
Over the past 2 years, the city has worked hard to meet the needs of new arrivals, but real concerns have also arisen as to the conditions in our shelters and landing zones.
There are confirmed reports at a warehouse in the Pilsen neighborhood that acts as a shelter of inadequate food, bedbug, and rodent infestations, and a lack of containment of infectious disease. The Illinois State Board of Elections is rejecting a challenge to keep former President Donald Trump off the state's primary ballot in March.
There was wisdom, I believe, in the legislature when they created the election code and said what our authority was, and by that, what our authority wasn't. And when we all took an oath to serve in this role, we would be violating that oath if we exceeded our authority and waded into the constitutional question.
Board member Jack Brett saying the board lacked the authority to decide whether Donald Trump was disqualified from holding the presidency under the U.S. Constitution's insurrection clause. The Bulls lost to Toronto last night, 118-107. Number 14 Fighting Illini, a road win over Ohio State, 87-75. The news is powered by CharlesEquipment.com, keeping the lights on when unexpected storms cause a loss of power at your business. Get help quickly at CharlesEquipment.com. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Make sure that you never miss a day of Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson when you subscribe to the Chicago's Morning Answer podcast, presented by Signature Bank. Listen to the entire show each day on demand with limited commercial breaks. You can subscribe today for free at 560theanswer.com and click on podcasts or search for Chicago's Morning Answer on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
I ran this by my doctor. I always run it by her, everything I take, and I told her I've been taking this for a while. Is this okay to take? She goes, oh, this is wonderful for you to take. Keep taking it. She goes, I approve this. This is very good. So she said, yes. She said, this is one thing you can take that's very good. I'm not going to stop taking Balance of Nature.
Step into the new year with a new you. Start your journey to better health by calling 1-800-246-8751 or by going to balanceofnature.com and signing up as a new preferred customer to get 35% off your first order, plus a free fiber and spice supplement with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Hurry! This is your last chance to take advantage of this offer. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this exclusive holiday offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Do relationships today seem harder than ever? In the world of IT management and infrastructure, what if you had a business partner that thinks like you, is easy to work with, and just seems to get it? MS Consulting Services has been doing this for 25 years. But don't listen to us, listen to some actual customers.
This is Bruno. I work for a medical software company. Being in this field, trust is very important. MS Consulting has been my trusted partner for almost 20 years. They are experienced, dependable, and honest. They do not try to oversell. They truly want to help and are willing to go out of their way to prove it.
Hi, my name's Gary. MS Consulting Services was laser focused on understanding the needs of our business. It was a priority to them to understand the needs of our customers. They're not just helpful, they really are experts at what they do.
So if you want a relationship like this, call John at 1-800-MIT-0404. You'll be glad you did.
.639, let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time is a service of Progressive Insurance. Looking for a career you'll love with flexibility, great pay and benefits, and one of the country's top workplaces? Join the growing team at Progressive Insurance. Go to progressive.com/careers. Kennedy inbound at 30 minutes, O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. Express lanes, an earlier blown trailer tire causing some delays in the express inbound between Addison and Ohio. Ike inbound at 35, 390 to the old post office. Dan Ryan express lanes inbound, jam solid 33rd up to the Stevenson Lake Zurich. An accident this morning, Cuba and Ela Road. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Mild clouds giving way to sun and a high of 46. Currently 37. Your next news update is at 7. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560. The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. It's been a little heavy this morning. You know, it can get that way when you're talking about the end of our republic. So let's offer some advice and counsel to Amy about this transition she's recently made in her life, shall we? I'm talking to you. I'm talking about you like you're not here, but you are.
Right, I'm here. What I'm transitioning?
Well, not in that way. Not the way that it's
My name's going to be Andy?
No. This piece in the Journal had me thinking about your struggles. I'm an empathetic guy that way.
Oh, yeah, you ooze empathy.
I'm very thinking
You and
about
KJP,
other people's struggles and what I can do to aid in that time of need. When Junior heads to college, helicopter parents turn to empty nest coaches.
Oh, boy.
I'm going to spring for one for you.
Okay. How much was it?
For a period of time. After years of shepherding children from one minute to the next, moms and dads hiring $250 an hour counselors to help them learn to live life on their own. You've got
312-642-5600. Turnkey Depot answer line. Text us, too, at 64636. Type in DA, then a quick comment.
Helicopter parents get accustomed to tracking their children's every move via smartphone, keeping activities tightly scheduled, scrutinizing homework and grades, exchanging miles of text. For a certain cohort of hands-on parents, getting their teens into college marks the finish line. The kids are fine. It's the parents who need help. The exit of high school seniors leaves many feeling like they're being fired from a job they've had for 18 years, says Jason Ramsden, who's made a name for himself as the empty nest coach. So, Amy, tell us about it.
Well, I mean, you're going to
Don't start with the waterworks.
I'm not going to cry. Okay, but when Peyton left, it was hard because he was at Georgia Tech, and it's not easy to get there. I mean,
nice win over North Carolina last night, by the way.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure I watched. No, congratulations to them, the Yellow Jackets. But you have to. It's at least $1,000 to fly there, get a hotel room, get a rental car, blah blah blah, and you can't do it. I mean, you have to take time off work, and it's not going to happen. So when he left, the thing is, you can't go by the bedroom the first few days because it just breaks your heart. Because it's a job you had your whole life that you're not worried about them, but making them good citizens, building strong character, getting their homework done. And then all of a sudden it's gone, and it's really depressing. But then you know what you do? You stop complaining. Well, stop being sad.
Drink.
And then just that may help too. But then when the second one goes off, it's really, really that was brutal. And he didn't pick up his phone for the first week. I think Justin had to go through that week with me. I'm like, he won't call me back. He won't even text me back.
Finally out. The guy finally got sprung.
But it's hard. I mean, but then you just start getting busy and volunteer. Just stay busy. That's what you got to do. That's why I ran the scorers table for girls and boys basketball this year, to keep busy and to stay involved and
Yeah, so you're basically just playing out the string at this point.
Picking up side jobs.
I mean, it sounds depressing. Kenny Hazlett had bittersweet feelings when his oldest child left for college. But he didn't expect the profound sadness when his middle child said goodbye last year, sort of what you're talking about. They all sting, but this one hurt. Apparently we know which kid Kenny likes the best. Wow.
So obvious.
I hope Kenny's kids, his oldest, isn't reading this. Boy. So listen to what Kenny's doing.
What? Sitting in her bedroom every night?
He's paying that empty nester coach $2,000 for weekly video conferences. And this is over the course of about 3 months. And it's just like, I don't know. It's just like Kenny needs somebody to talk to.
Does Kenny have a wife or friends? This
Yeah,
might be a good time to pick up a new hobby like pickleball.
Well, see, and I appreciate this. I'm having a little fun at his expense, but I mean, you appreciate the stories. He switched careers, became a real estate agent after the birth of his first child, so he wouldn't have to travel as much. He coached flag football, helped with homework, treated each of his 3 children to one-on-one trips. I mean, it's not, he was a pole vaulter in college, coached his second son when his son took up the sport in 7th grade. He volunteered to coach track when his youngest child, daughter, with his youngest child, high school senior now on the launch pad, he plans to circle back to the empty nest coach because he's, about to experience another loss. And so I mean, he sounds like a great dad and really involved parent, and that's wonderful. It's just interesting that, this guy is, a talented guy, and he's got a lot of interests, and and many of them revolved around his kids, which is fine, which is great. But this whole empty nest coaching thing is just, by the way, where is the wife in all of this?
I don't know. Maybe they're
not
divorced?
helping, apparently.
No, I know a man who completely broke down and was sobbing for days when his second daughter went to college. He was inconsolable then. And I just thought, you know what, I'm not going to be that man.
Well, it is. I mean, the losing your job thing comparison is kind of interesting. And again, I mean, I'll take jokes and ridicule, which I normally enjoy for these segments. But it is sort of interesting because, as one person observed in this piece, you're so focused on raising your kids that your whole identity is your kids. It's like people whose whole identity is their job, right? You're so focused on your work that, if you lose your job, it really is like
lose yourself.
Yeah, sort of.
But you have to remember, God loves you.
Right.
No, I'm just saying
yes.
that there's a higher calling. It's going to be okay. Then
maybe this is your side hustle. This is your side hustle. Empty nest coaching.
Right. How you get through is you just plan the next trip. Like, when am I going to see them again? All right. So now Peyton, he's at Georgia Tech, Paris. So when am I going to see him again? I'm going to France, and I better get Babbel real quick here because I know no French. I'm going next Monday to go see him. So then you look forward to those times when you get to see them.
Oh boy! Wow.
What? Did you know I'm not going to be here next week?
Gay Paris. Oh boy.
I'll be here Monday, but then I'm leaving because it's cheaper. I hate breaking up the week, but it's cheaper to fly Monday or Tuesday than it is on the weekends.
Don't you have any friends with the get you on the Concorde?
Oh yeah, right.
Marty in Naperville, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
A couple of things wrong here. Number one, it's not like losing a job. You lose a job, you lose an income. You lose a kid, you gain an income. Yeah. And second of all, the old saying, don't be. What is the old saying? Don't be sad it's over. Be glad it happened. Yeah, they're left. If you really Amy, don't go. What are you going to France for? And don't tell them you're an American.
Yeah, I know that. Thanks. I lived in Spain as a student abroad. Yes, I've got my Swedish hat. I know what I'm doing.
First it was Jefferson in Paris. Now it's Jacobson in Paris.
I'll be like, bonjour. Here's the thing, too. For the single moms out there, when the kids go to college, guess what happens? Child support stops. And that's a real big blow. That's worse than the kids leaving.
Yeah, well, I mean,
what's the thing? I mean,
you should have squirreled away some of that alimony.
Well, I have to pay for their college too. It's a triple blow.
Well, and then of course you got to be careful you don't have one of those boomerang kids that gets the $150,000, $200,000, $300,000 degree, and then all of a sudden is back living in the basement after graduation.
Yeah,
that could really crimp your style. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. You got canasta and the other, activities you've filled the void with. And so now all of a sudden, maybe you got to, once you're out, you're out. Mary Kay in Western Springs.
Hi, thanks for taking the call. I'm scared, for the future of this next generation. These kids will duck, so many of them back in the basement. The parents are smothering their children. But Amy, you have boys. I think it's different with boys. I have a daughter. I have an Italian husband who loves us so much that he, when she left for school, he
cried.
He had tears. Us, Amy, our only baby. I mean, no.
Well, where did she go to school?
It's a bummer. St. Louis University. Yeah, we drove back and forth. We were all down, whatever. But we left her. My husband said to me, "Leave her alone. She's gone. Leave her alone."
Yeah.
So he let her live her life and become the kid she is. And now she travels. She's never here. I don't even know she's here. They fly in and out of here like, my husband has his own life. He's an old chubby white guy, who, started his own business now because he can't, the banks people don't want these older men who make a ton of money or whatever, they've been successful, and then they just cut them off. About 50, you're kind of done. Go figure something else out. You got to reinvent yourself. Like that Jane Pauley wrote a book about it.
Oh, Jane Pauley, sure. Yeah.
Yeah, Jane told it like it is. Go start a pizza joint. Just start a new Johnny's beef stand. My husband wanted to do that too. I'm like, I'm not slinging beef all over the place.
Beef stand. All right. Well, Mary, I'll tell you what. I think we got something. Amy and Mary Kay, empty nest coaching.
Oh, yeah. We could throw in some aerobics and yoga there, too.
It's true.
We could go golfing with them, too.
Holistic. I mean, you get the mind and body with the two. But I should seed the business and manage the finances if I do, by the way. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
It's what Chicago is talking about. It's Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy on AM 560. The Answer.
Is your prostate secretly being destroyed without you knowing it? All the ads for these prostate pills like Super Beta Prostate, Saw Palmetto, ProstaStream, Prostagenics, and others want to know which pills work and which are garbage? Now you can. Get a free copy of the new guide, Prostate Secrets, that pulls back the curtain on the prostate pill industry. Learn what is really in these pills. Which pill has over 987 adverse event reports filed against it with the FDA? It's shocking. Learn the one food to avoid that is a prostate killer, and discover the 3 so-called health foods that destroy your prostate. Get your free copy at prostatesecrets.com. That's prostatesecrets.com. This free guide will show you how to end your prostate problems without drugs or surgery, 5 important things to do to protect your prostate, and much more. Warning, this guide is controversial and may be offensive to some readers as it pulls no punches. So go to prostatesecrets.com. Prostatesecrets.com. That's prostatesecrets.com.
All right, I got a lot of text messages. How about when 2 out of the 3 girls get deployed overseas in the Army, 2020 and 2022? But I'm okay. Sad, but it's life. I prepared. They grow up and move on. By the way, I love your show. And then a lot of these, Amy, you could always take in some young male illegal aliens.
Yeah, exactly. Fill the void.
If the government pays me, maybe I will.
Sure. Peyton and Eli, the Venezuelan versions.
Oh, my God. All right, when you give your body the best possible fuel, guess what? You have more energy, you're stronger, you think more quickly, and a lot of us aren't getting enough fruits and veggies on our own, and that is where Balance of Nature comes in. 31 whole fruits and vegetables, real food, real nutrition. So I feel good that I'm doing something for myself because think about it. What did you guys have for dinner or lunch yesterday? Any fruits and vegetables? Not. I think I had a salad and that was it. So what you do is take 6 capsules, 3 fruits, 3 veggies. I break mine into warm water and voila. Feel good knowing that I'm doing something for myself. So be one of the cool kids. Get your bottles of fruits and veggies today. The number to call is 800-246-8751, 800-246-8751, and be sure to use discount code Chicago.
The best way to protect yourself from inflation, hyperinflation, or a recession is to trade the doomed currency into a hard asset before it happens. Why precious metals? Gold and silver have been the store of value for thousands of years. Why not ETFs or just buy it on paper? The whole sales pitch for owning gold and silver is to have it in your own control, not in some bank vault hundreds of miles away or the cloud. Can't you just buy from anyone? Most people like the anonymity of paying cash and walking out the door with the product. You can't do that through the mail. If you are buying or selling gold, silver, or platinum, it's basically cash and carry.
Fox Valley Coins. Our products are as good as, well, you get the idea. Don't buy and sell through the mail. Deal with a real store. Fox Valley Coins in Naperville for an investment with a real silver lining. Check out foxvalleycoins.com.
The IRS is the most powerful collection agency on earth, and if you owe back taxes, the news isn't good. The IRS is raising the interest rate it charges on unpaid taxes, and further rate hikes are expected. Most people don't know it, but the IRS adds interest charges to your tax debts daily. So if you owe the IRS today, you'll owe even more tomorrow. And it doesn't stop until you get right with the IRS. The good news is getting right can start with one phone call to Optima Tax Relief, America's America's #1 tax relief firm. Optima's tax professionals specialize in the Fresh Start Initiative, a powerful IRS program that can save you thousands if you qualify. In fact, the experts at Optima have resolved over $1 billion in tax debt for their clients. Call now for a free consultation.
Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
I'm Larry Nora, founder and CEO of U-Store-It, a network of award-winning self-storage facilities in the Chicago area, and a customer of Signature Bank. We've developed over 70 storage centers throughout the city and suburbs, and our business continues to grow. We need a bank who understands the neighborhoods and communities where we are making investments. We found that in Signature Bank. They know this city and its neighborhoods because they are based right here in Chicago. Finding a local banking institution like Signature Bank has been critical to the success of U-Store-It, and we look forward to a long-term relationship.
Signature Bank is looking for their next success story. To learn more about turning your business vision into reality, visit signaturebank.bank. Signature Bank, helping local businesses succeed. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
This is Seth Leibson of 960thepatriot.com for townhall.com. The projected standoff between the Biden administration and Texas over the protection of our border may be about to fizzle out. All the rage last week, it was nowhere in the New York Times on Monday. Part of this is that the news just revealed a record number of border encounters in the month of December, over 300,000. In other words, everyone knows our border is not secure, even as the Secretary of Homeland Security lies about it. Everyone knows something else, too. The border crisis is entirely a Joe Biden production, his greatest domestic policy failure, which could lead to a national security failure as well. In fact, given the illegal migrants on our terrorist watch list, it probably already is. The Biden administration simply does not want video of the federal government cutting down the barriers Texas has installed. Watch for this Texas story, like so many others, to just fade away, even if our border crisis does not, until we have new leadership in Washington. I'm Seth Leibson.
AM 560, The Answer.
We're talking about the trauma of being an empty nester, and it's spawned a coaching profession, empty nest coaches. Bill and Waukegan, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, I just wanted to say that when my daughter was born, I couldn't even call my mom and dad because I was crying for like the next 2 hours or so. And then when I had to see her go to college, I almost couldn't even get out of bed for a day and a half. I mean, she was my first, and I tell you, I'm just, when it comes right down to it, I just realized then at that time that I'm a wussy boy, man. She had me, and still has me around her finger. So
all right.
That's all I want to say. Good morning to you guys, and thanks for taking my call, guys.
Thanks for the call,
Yeah.
Bill. Appreciate
You
it.
sound like a wonderful father. I got a text message. Amy, I can send my daughter over. I don't know how I feel about that. She's a great cook and loves working out, yoga. She plays golf. You can borrow her.
Oh, this is rent out your daughter to empty nesters. That's an idea, too. Rent out your kids to empty nesters.
And got another text message. A&M empty nest coaching. Amy and Mary. You like it?
Mary Kay.
Yeah. A&M empty nest coaching.
We'll have to workshop that name. Yeah. All right.
Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 7:07, we're going to update how the Pritzker Purge Law is working out in practice. Kendall County State's Attorney Eric Weiss joins us for that discussion, 7:07.
But now let's head into the newsroom. Here is Mike Scott.
A group of protesters blasting the city of Chicago for rejecting their permit. We'll tell you why. WIND Chicago News Time is 7 o'clock.
He's finally going to go. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. President Biden will take a trip to East Palestine, Ohio next month. This Saturday, it'll be 1 year since the toxic train derailment. Some residents there question the federal response and cleanup. Fox's Peter Ducey's at the White House.
The question for President Biden today is, what took so long? The mayor there, Trent Conaway, also said, we have heard nothing from the administration about a visit. He also said, I don't know what he would do here now.
When it comes to the southern border, President Biden says he's done all he can. asking Congress for more power to stop record of illegal immigration as House Republicans target his head of Homeland Security.
The ayes have it, and the motion is agreed to.
A committee vote last night without any Democrats support advances impeachment for Alejandro Mayorkas to the full House.
The impeachment articles charge that Mayorkas, quote, refused to comply with federal immigration laws amid a record surge of migrants. They also claim he has, quote, breached the public trust in his claims to Congress that the U.S.-Mexico border is secure.
Fox's Marianne Rafferty. Democrats like Congressman Benny Thompson say this is a sham, a waste of time. The Senate will not remove Mayorkas from office.
House Republicans' impeachment of Secretary Mayorkas accomplishes nothing, which would be consistent with their abysmal record this Congress.
President Biden says he has decided how the U.S. will retaliate for the attack on a base in Jordan that killed 3 American soldiers, blamed on Iran-backed militants. Republican Senator Ted Budd on the Armed Services Committee tells Fox.
I've been with the 5th Fleet before. We have everything that we need in the region if we just give them the permission to do what they need to do to stop Iran in its tracks.
Now, if the U.S. hits Iran directly, like some Republicans want, Iran is threatening to decisively respond. And also today, a U.S. Navy destroyer shot down another anti-ship cruise missile launched in the Red Sea by Houthi militants. America's listening to Fox News.
37 degrees. Skies are gray. 7:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. Forecast has some sun on the way. Group of protesters are blasting the city of Chicago for rejecting their permit application to protest by Chicago's water tower ahead of the DNC in August.
Chicago is home to an inspiring, dynamic community of longtime organizers and newly mobilized youth activists. And for the city and the Democratic Party to shut out those voices, suggesting instead that they march in a straight line in Grant Park where no one will hear them, offends the First Amendment, and it sets a regressive tone for the DNC.
Activists like lawyer for the demonstrators Joe DeCola says they'll appeal. Conditions in Chicago's migrant shelters and the inability to provide critical resources to migrants who crossed the border illegally and came here, some to ask for asylum, took center stage at a city council meeting. The hearing took place on Tuesday, and a warehouse in the Pilsen neighborhood is one of the shelters that have reportedly had some of the most concerning living conditions.
Over the past 2 years, the city has worked hard to meet the needs of new arrivals, but real concerns have also arisen as to the conditions in our shelters and landing zones.
That's Alderman Andre Vasquez, a leading Republican state senator here in Illinois, highly critical of Governor J.B. Pritzker's handling of the migrant crisis.
Well, I mean, it's an invited crisis from the governor's policy priorities over his 5 years in office.
Illinois Senate Republican leader John Curran says Pritzker has mismanaged the crisis. 3 Chicago men are charged with taking part in a scheme to sell fake IDs to foreign nationals arriving here in Chicago, mostly Venezuelan migrants. Cook County Sheriff's Police arrested that trio last week.
Some of the people we have taken into custody have told us they were literally directed on what to steal, how much to steal that would get you this ID and that ID.
Sheriff Tom Dart, authorities say the suspects sold the ID cards to migrants so they could use them to try and gain employment. An investigation continues after a body was pulled from the Chicago River on the south and west sides. Chicago Police Department's Marine Unit went into the water in the 2400 block of South Hoyne in a recovery mission. Person's cause of death has not been released. Bulls beaten by the Raptors, 118-107 last night. Big Ten hoops, Fighting Illini road win over Ohio State. The news, a service of Salem Surround. Go to surroundchicago.com today. And a check of traffic and weather is on the way next on AM 560.
November 2nd, 2020, marked the 100th anniversary of the first commercial radio broadcast. We're still here, and we're bigger and better than ever. You can still listen to us over this great radio station, but now there are no limitations. Your smartphone is now your smart radio. Listen to us online on the app, tunein.com, iHeartRadio, and Odyssey.com. Your smart speaker can find us too. With radio, there is no separation anxiety. We're always on. AM 560, The Answer.
Markets are trembling. Don't be a casualty of economic upheaval. Do what I did and embrace the safety of gold. Talk to the experts at Noble Gold Investments today, and you can claim a free 3-ounce silver American Virtue coin. With gold at an all-time high, you need to jump on this. Just use the promo code GOLD. Go to noblegoldinvestments.com now.
Past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals, including gold, involves risks. Consult with your tax attorney or financial professional before making an investment decision.
Looking for top-notch personal protection? The Smith & Wesson Equalizer is here to level the playing field. Easy to rack slide, easy to control ergonomic grip. It's designed for you. With a 10, 13, and 15-round magazine included, size up for better control or size down for easier concealment. Don't miss out on the opportunity to upgrade your safety. Visit your local dealer now. To learn more about the Equalizer, visit smith-wesson.com. Smith & Wesson, empowering Americans. All capacity sizes may not be available in your jurisdiction. Be sure to check your local laws and regulations.
Is your prostate secretly being destroyed without you knowing it? All the ads for these prostate pills, like Super Beta Prostate, Saw Palmetto, ProstaStream, Prostagenics, and others, want to know which pills work and which are garbage? Now you can. Get a free copy of the new guide, Prostate Secrets, that pulls back the curtain on the prostate pill industry. Learn what is really in these pills. Which pill has over 987 adverse event reports filed against it with the FDA? It's shocking. Learn the one food to avoid that is a prostate killer, and discover the 3 so-called health foods that destroy your prostate. Get your free copy at prostatesecrets.com. That's prostatesecrets.com. This free guide will show you how to end your prostate problems without drugs or surgery, 5 important things to do to protect your prostate, and much more. Warning, this guide is controversial and may be offensive to some readers as it pulls no punches. So go to prostatesecrets.com. Prostatesecrets.com. That's prostatesecrets.com.
7:07. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. Kendall County. Accident at Route 126 at Schlapp Road. Bensonville, an accident. Foster and Route 83. Bishop Ford and I-57, both heavy and slow into the Ryan merge. Ryan at 24 minutes from 95th into the Byrne Circle interchange. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Now your official Chicagoland weather forecast in our QC Kinetics Weather Center. Here's Steve Williams.
Clouds giving way to a bit of sun, a mild day. High today 46, patchy clouds tonight, low 38. Clouds and sun, mild tomorrow, the high 50. And then mostly cloudy Friday, the high Friday afternoon, 43. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
At 7:08, it's time to call Permaseal, 800-421-SEAL. 37 at O'Hare, 38 at Midway. Your next news update, 7:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. A Tribune news story of sorts, about as close as a Tribune can get to an actual news story. By the way, one of the things they say about the Safety Act in this story that is just untrue. This is what you have to deal with.
All right,
The
what's
cash
the
bail
lie?
The cash bail measure has been controversial for those concerned about the public safety impact of the provisions, talking about the Safety Act, the Pritzker Purge Law. Though studies of bail reform measures in other jurisdictions have not shown a significant effect on recidivism or failure by defendants to appear in court. That's not true. Actually, the study that was done of the bail reform in New York, which doesn't go nearly as far as Illinois, did find a correlative increase in crime as a result of the disposition to let criminals, those accused of serious crimes, walk without bond. It did. So that's just not true. But okay. The anecdote that kicks off this effort to report news by the Tribune. In October, in Livingston County, Judge Jennifer Bachnecht issued a lengthy decision following a detention hearing just weeks after cash bail was abolished across the state. said the judge in Livingston County, where you still have some sanity. You have to get really outside of Cook for sure, and to some extent the Collars. I mean, certainly in a place like Lake County that would elect Al Reinhardt, its state's attorney, that's not a good indicator. Anyway, Livingston County judge. She wrote, all right, since its founding, this country has used monetary bonds in conjunction with pretrial conditions as an effective tool for ensuring that a defendant is not at risk of harm to others in the community, does not commit any criminal offenses while out on bond, and that he appears as directed at all future court dates. This is in a case involving someone charged with soliciting a child.
Ew.
Yeah. She said she would have given the defendant a reasonable bond, but without that discretion, she ordered him detained. An appellate court vacated her decision, finding the court improperly focused on its disdain for the recent statutory charges. No, I think the disdain was both with respect to the Safety Act as well as to the defendant before her that had solicited a child. Yeah. So what we're seeing, in the initial wake of the impact of the purge law, Pritzker's purge law, is a significant spike in the number of appeals in cases just like this, where prosecutors might want a defendant detained, judge may want a defendant detained. The decisions per the purge law can be a bit murky, based on somewhat subjective standards of threat to public safety. And so you have more activity at the appellate court level on this matter, but you certainly have more defendants, as anticipated, that's the purpose of the law, more defendants who would have been held over for trial that are out roaming the streets. And again, as we mentioned before, I think yesterday in talking to Ted Dabrowski, what we need to see is CWB Chicago to expand its operation to get to at least Chicagoland, Cook and the Collars, because this series they've been running for 3 years, just this narrow group of accused and oftentimes convicted, usually convicted criminals. The series they've done the last 3 years, the number of people who are out on electronic monitoring or now just out awaiting trial for a violent felony, who attempt to kill somebody or do kill somebody while they're awaiting trial for another felony charge, usually gun-related or something like this.
Preventable crimes, whether it be a murder or rape or carjacking or armed robbery. I mean, it's the whole long list of it.
Yeah, and I don't think anybody has the data. As we were talking to Ted yesterday, it's difficult to cull together. But we certainly can have the lived experience of people that are in the justice system every day and what they're seeing. And so for perspective there, we're pleased to be joined again by Eric Weiss, who is the state's attorney for Kendall County. Eric, thanks for being with us again. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Dan. Thanks, Amy. Always a pleasure to be on your show.
Yeah, we appreciate your time and your insights, as I said, as somebody who does this daily. So what is the lived experience over the last year plus since the implementation?
Well, I'll tell you, the appeals you were talking about it's overwhelming right now, Dan and Amy. It's, every case, there's no reason for the defendant not to appeal his detention or even his conditions. So we're seeing, as that article said, and there's some truth to some of the stats in there, over 1,000 appeals already on just this pretrial detention. And it's going to overwhelm the system. That's what ultimately happens is you're spending millions of dollars in the appellate prosecutor, the appellate defenders, dealing with it in the court systems at the trial court levels. We're just seeing a huge influx of those appeals that we didn't have 6 months ago.
Well, did Governor Pritzker know about this? I mean, that this is one of the ramifications and one of the consequences of what he did?
Yeah, well, yes, he allocated $50 million of your tax dollars to, pay for this so we could, I don't know what we were going to do with it, but that's what we did. We spent $50 million a year to hire more people or to contract this out so they can handle these thousands of appeals that are coming each month.
And what, I don't know if you have data on it just in terms of, your purview in Kendall County, but what is the result of the appeals? I mean, these, I assume most of the appeals are coming from criminal defense attorneys who want their client released and a judge has held them over for trial. And if that's right, if my instinct is right, then what is your sense of what's happening at the appellate court level in terms of upholding detentions versus releasing the accused?
Well, what we're seeing so far is that at least the appellate courts right now are saying that the trial court made a decision. We're going to kind of honor that decision unless it was so far afield that we just can't. And I think you see that in Livingston County. Hey, you got to make a decision based on the law, not your opinion. But what we're seeing, though, too, is, and I think that article mentioned, is judges, first of all, prosecutors aren't seeking detention as much as they probably could because they're worried about appeals. They're worried about a judge not detaining someone. Then we have the whole issue of judges. They don't want to get reversed. So they're going to err on the side of not detaining someone if they have to, unless the evidence is overwhelming. So if you look at like Cook County, which you would think you would have the highest number of appeals, just based on their number of cases and the number of violent criminals that they have that they should be detaining and defendants should be appealing, they have the lowest number.
Really?
Well, what does that tell you? That tells you everything about the culture in Kim Fox's office, and the culture in Tim Evans, the court system that Tim Evans lords over. That as well.
Well, and the problem with that is that means those people are out automatically if they're not seeking detention, and they're going to other counties or other places or back to where they were and committing new crimes. That's the reality. Is we're seeing more repeat offenders so far on cases that we either can't detain or it makes it much more difficult to detain. And it's almost like a war of attrition. If we just keep imposing more and more obstacles to hold somebody and more things to get them back into custody, prosecutors will just give up, or judges will just give up at some point and let everybody out, and we won't have to deal with it. And I guess it really is not going to matter anyway, because we're not going to be able to stop people and arrest people for crimes down the road if Representative Slaughter's bill starts coming into effect. So we won't have to worry about that anyway.
Right. Right. You're talking about the Justin Slaughter, who was the sponsor of the Pritzker Purge Law, the Safety Act we talked about yesterday. Now he wants to eliminate all traffic stops for just about all traffic violations short of DUI.
Including speeding. So I guess if you want to speed going to work, I guess you'll get to work faster. You won't have to worry about being stopped by a police officer, and laws won't mean anything at some point. I don't know if that's the intent going forward of we're just going to slowly erode the police ability to do their job and the court system, and we'll get back to, I don't know, purge system or anarchy, or I don't know what.
Dear Lord.
Well, it'll just be
vigilantes.
It'll be like the Audubon everywhere, which is, kind of fun.
Do you think he's going to be successful with that?
I can't believe that, at least in speaking to people around here, even the Democratic, representatives, they were shocked it was filed. But again, I didn't think we'd be here where we were with the cash bail issue and not addressing the issues that the court system and prosecutors had about holding these people. But here we are.
So when you talk about people not detained in Cook County and then they're out in the collars and potentially committing other crimes while they're out, we've seen that. It's not hypothetical. In addition to whatever is sort of endemic in Kendall County, are you seeing a greater incidence of crime both locally as well as from outsiders coming in? Not just repeat offenders, but a greater incidence of crime across the board?
We're seeing more from outside of our county than we have in the past. And I know it's only a short window and it could just be a spike.
Right.
I don't want to prejudge something on a couple of months, but we are seeing much more from the Cook County area coming out this direction than we have in the last few years. If that continues, we're going to continue to see that spike of more and more cases in our system. causing us to either try to find more prosecutors, open more courtrooms, expand our jail system if we have to. It just continues to come this direction, and it's only been a few months. Kind of, 3-4 years from now, I don't know where we'll be, and if it continues on that trend, it's not going to be a good one.
And what you mentioned the jail. What about that? The sort of the daily population in the Kendall County Jail, and this is something else we've got to check out. But what you're hearing from some of the other collar counties too, or is the daily population on the decline?
It depends on the day. Obviously, we have inmates that are sentenced that are coming in there. The ones that we're holding obviously have gone down pre-trial. We are fortunately in Kendall County. Our judges have been very good about the ones who are seeking detention. We don't get every one of them. It's not an automatic, but they are doing a great job of going through and detaining those that should be detained. But we're having to make tough calls because we know what the law says and we know what the appellate court can do if it gets up there. And no disrespect to them. I mean, they're doing their job and based on a law that they didn't implement and they didn't pass. But when it comes to the numbers pre-trial, they are down.
Yeah, so that was anticipated. What else, the other features of the Safety Act? I know, again, this has only been since the fall, so it's not enough data. But again, just the experience and what you're sort of getting a sense of what this is going to be like. So some of the other provisions we talked a lot about in the fight over the legislation, and even after the legislation was modified, despite the fact that Pritzker said during the entire governor's race that didn't need to be modified, but it was anyway after the fact. But like things like the time limits to get defendants to trial and so forth, that potentially impacted your ability to bring the strongest case that you could in terms of gathering the necessary evidence and so forth. That what are the other provisions that are challenging the work that you do?
Yeah, it is a little different on how we're doing things. I mean, Kendall's a little bit different than, let's say, Will County or Kane or some of the bigger counties. We have the ability to try cases a little bit quicker, but we are putting pressure on the crime labs. We are putting pressure on our law enforcement to get that stuff to us quicker because we're under that gun when we have to get those cases to trial. And obviously, they're very serious cases. It's not trying a retail theft in 90 days. It's a sex assault, it's an armed violence, it's a murder. Those are the type of cases that, as we continue down this path, especially in the bigger counties, we're either going to see those people out or we're going to see those cases not being charged right away because they have to wait till they get all their evidence. And while that's out, someone's committing a new crime or some witness is being killed or whatever it happens to be. That's going to affect law enforcement and the prosecution of those cases and the safety of the communities in general.
He is Eric Weiss. He's the state's attorney for Kendall County. Eric, thanks as always for joining us. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it, Danny. Have a good one.
Thanks, you too. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Connect with Dan and Amy using the AM 560 mobile app. Download it today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
If you're purchasing investment properties and having challenges securing a mortgage, you need to call Team Hochberg about a debt service coverage ratio loan. DSCR loans allow investors to purchase investment properties solely based upon the property's cash flow, not the personal income of the buyer. DCSR loans opens doors for investors who have trouble securing a mortgage via traditional route of supplying 2 years of tax returns, W-2s, and pay stubs. The three qualifying factors are the borrower's credit scores, down payment, and cash flow of the property. If you're an investor interested in purchasing rental properties and have been turned down or are having challenges securing a mortgage, you need to call Team Hochberg now at 855-56-DAVID or visit 56david.com for information about DSCR loans. Team Hochberg has helped thousands of radio listeners, but we can't help if you don't call 855-563-2843 or visit 56david.com. Lower.com, equal housing lender, NMLS 1124061.
Guys, it's a new year, and Low T Center can help make it a great one. If you've been feeling tired, grumpy, have noticed lack of motivation and drive, have weight gain or loss of muscle mass, these could all be signs of low testosterone levels. Trust my friends at Low T Center. It's where I get my levels checked, have the past 8 years. At Low T Center, they make it easy to get your levels checked. It's just a simple blood test, and with their on-site lab, You'll get your results back in about 25 minutes. Low T Center is not your typical doctor's office where you have a long wait. It's concierge medicine exclusively for men. They have affordable and convenient options for treatment, including physician-monitored, self-inject treatments that ship directly to you each month, so there's no need to drive to the center for weekly visits. And right now, Low T Center is only $25 to get your T level tested. Make your health and quality of life a priority and make it a great year. Go to lowtcenter.com to book your appointment online today. That's lowtcenter.com. Low T Center, reinventing men's health care.
Author, psychologist, and professor Dr. Jordan B. Peterson is coming to the Chicago Theater on February 12th with his highly anticipated We Who Wrestle with God tour. The best-selling author of 12 Rules for Life and Beyond Order has sold out more than 400 venues, and his online programs have helped tens of thousands of people. Tickets are on sale now at livenation.com.
You cannot live forever, but your legacy can. For over 185 years, families have trusted Catholic Cemeteries of Chicago to set their legacies in stone. With 47 locations throughout Cook and Lake counties, a prepaid cemetery plan locks in today's prices and safeguards against rising inflation. Visit CatholicCemeteriesChicago.org or call 708-236-5490 to schedule a free consultation today.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
I've just been doing great, and I just feel like it's a definite advantage to take them. Let me just say one other thing. I mentioned to my doctor that I was taking Balance of Nature, and they said they were very positive about that. And they said that was really good. That's a good product, and so I've been very pleased.
Step into the new year with a new you. Start your journey to better health by calling 1-800-246-8751 or by going to balanceofnature.com and signing up as a new preferred customer to get 35% off your first order, plus a free fiber and spice supplement with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Hurry, this is your last chance to take advantage of this offer. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this exclusive holiday offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
I'm Frank Vance, co-owner of Egan Vance Insurance Agency on Chicago's Northwest Side and a customer of Signature Bank. In my line of work, we pride ourselves on being there for our clients when they need it the most, and we recognize when someone does the same for us. As Egan Vance was expanding, we wanted to buy a much sought-after building in the neighborhood. We couldn't waste any time. I called Signature Bank, and that was all it took. I didn't have to talk to multiple people in siloed departments with multiple forms to fill out. One call did it all. As the one who was always looking out for my clients, it was a great change to know that my bank, Signature Bank, was looking out for me.
Signature Bank is looking for their next success story. To learn more about turning your business vision into reality, visit signaturebank.bank. Signature Bank, helping local businesses succeed. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Right now is a really good time to get your student loans under control. There are so many people that we talk to every day who tell us that they just feel so much anxiety and overwhelmed by their student loans. But once they pick up that phone and call us and we're able to give them a plan and a strategy that may lower their payment by hundreds of dollars, sometimes thousands of dollars, and may actually get their loans forgiven. The point is just to give people some clarity and control over their situation so that they know that whatever the payment is, whatever the plan is, there actually is a plan, and that plan is going to save them the most amount of money. I'm Ray Kaplan, and I can help you get debt-free, stress-free. Give us a call at 312-294-8989 or visit us at financialrelief.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 7:37, we'll discuss the new front that the big guy has opened up in his war against American energy independence with economist Steve Moore. That's 7:37.
And debanking, yes, it is a thing, but now let's head into the newsroom. Here is Mike Scott.
37 degrees at 7:30. House Republicans are voting to advance their efforts to impeach Department of Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas over his handling of the southern border.
Secretary Mayorkas' actions have forced our hand. We cannot allow this border crisis to continue. We cannot allow fentanyl to flood across our border, or criminals to waltz in undeterred. And we cannot allow a cabinet secretary with no regard for the separation of powers or the rule of law to remain in office.
Republican Mark Green of Tennessee, the vote paves the way for a vote by the full House that could come as soon as next week. President Biden says he's made a decision on how to respond to the drone attack in Jordan that killed 3 U.S. troops. Our reporter in Washington is Mark Mayfield.
That's what he told reporters Tuesday while departing the White House. The president added he holds Iran responsible for supporting the militant group who carried out the attack. He emphasized, however, he's not seeking a wider war in the Middle East. I'm Mark Mayfield.
FBI Director Christopher Wray will go before Congress today, warning that Chinese hackers are preparing to unleash havoc on Americans. In prepared testimony submitted, Wray and other top federal security officials are sounding the alarm about Chinese efforts to target critical infrastructure. Chicago City Council will meet to vote on a resolution calling for a ceasefire in the Israel-Hamas war. The measure has the backing of Mayor Brandon Johnson, but faces stiff opposition from several council members. Some city leaders have been working on the largely symbolic resolution since last week that has empowered some anti-Jewish protesters. A Chicago police officer has been charged with aggravated DUI in the death of a woman fatally struck outside the House of Blues in River North in December. Tangi Brown was off duty at the time of that crash. Authorities say an Amtrak train crashed into a milk truck in Colorado at a rail crossing, badly injuring the engineer and sending 3 passengers to the hospital for treatment. There were 69 passengers on the derailed train headed to Chicago from San Francisco. Indiana's lieutenant governor this morning says she's running for the governor's seat. Suzanne Crouch officially filed as a candidate for the Republican primary. Several others have announced an intention to run, including GOP Senator Mike Braun. The Republican primary in Indiana is May 7. Bulls lost to Toronto, 118-107 last night, and they have the Hornets later on tonight. Number 14 Fighting Illini, a Big Ten road win over Ohio State, 87-75. 7:33 and a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
This radio station is always on, but sometimes you need more content that you can take with you anywhere. That's why we invented the SalemPodcastNetwork.com. You'll find all the great hosts on this radio station, plus a few more, like Charlie Kirk, Dinesh D'Souza, Trish Regan, Jenna Ellis, and Dennis and Julie. There's literally no end to what we can teach you. It's like radio on demand, and just like radio, it's always on. Go find out what you're missing. Download the app, SalemPodcastNetwork.com.
Do you know that high blood pressure is the #1 risk factor for mortality? In fact, 1 in 2 adults have high blood pressure. That's a 50-50 chance you're a walking time bomb. But you, not Big Pharma, can take control of your blood pressure before it's too late with my friends at 120 Life. 120 Life is a blend of great-tasting superfruit juices that actually help lower your blood pressure. It's formulated with ingredients that have been shown to naturally control high blood pressure and are endorsed by thousands of health professionals. You can try it for yourself risk-free with their 2-week trial pack. Go to 120life.com and use the code NEWYEAR to save 20% and receive free shipping. They are so sure that 120 Life can noticeably lower your blood pressure in 2 weeks that they'll give you your money back if you're not satisfied. So you have nothing to lose but those high blood pressure numbers. Order now at 120life.com and remember to use coupon code NEWYEAR to save 20%. This is serious. It's your life we're talking about here. So hurry up. The offer ends January 31st.
After years of discomfort, it's like I'm alive again.
Sonia Hackett talks about how QC Kinetics changed her life.
QC Kinetics has given me my quality of life back.
Before QC Kinetics, Sonia suffered from horrible knee and back pain stemming from a car accident.
I was wearing knee braces just to try to maneuver around.
Sonia hated the idea of pain meds, and surgery seemed too risky, so she turned to the local medical professionals at QC Kinetics, the leaders in advanced regenerative medicine.
That consultation just changed my life. I can do the treadmill, everything. I don't have anything holding me back. The quality of life is pain-free. QC Kinetics has made us very happy.
Call QC Kinetics for your free consultation today.
I'm going to get emotional again. They are like family members to me. They care.
Call QC Kinetics now.
Call QC Kinetics, 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955. 312-809-5955.
7:36. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time is a service of our AM 560 store. Order t-shirts, hoodies, and more from your favorite AM 560 brands, including Proft University. Inbound Eden's 22 Lake Cook Road to the junction. 46 on the inbound Kennedy O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. Ike inbound, it's an hour, 390 into the old post office. Stevenson right now inbound 51 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Dan Ryan setting at a full half hour, 95th into the Burns Circle interchange. And delays this morning in Elmhurst. Accident North Avenue and Lake. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Now your official Chicagoland weather forecast in our QC Kinetics Weather Center. Mild clouds giving way to sun, 46 today. Mild, more sun tomorrow, a high near 50. Cloudy and 37 right now. Next news coming up at 8. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. It's said that, you have to be smart to be funny. Well, I think that's true. Saturday Night Live is the negative composite of that reality. You have to be smart to be funny. They're neither smart, and so they're not funny. So over the weekend, I don't watch it, but, the clips were circulating.
Right.
That Dullard, who does the weekend news update, Colin Jost, tried to have fun.
You know who his wife is, right?
Scarlett Johansson?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she's gotten passed around a few times.
Oh,
wow.
Meow. Wow.
Well, it's true.
Hello.
Yeah. Boy, and she keeps going down at about a 45-degree angle from one to the other. Have you noticed?
She married a dummy.
Yeah, so
listen to what he said.
They tried to have fun, something that Trump said on the campaign stump. Do we have that clip? My board's down.
I know, the board's down. Justin, do we have it?
Okay, we don't have it, apparently. All right, well, that's by the board.
We could paraphrase what happened.
Well, Trump talked about debanking on the campaign trail.
Yeah.
And they ridiculed him as like, what is he talking about? What's debanking? They've never heard of this term before. But, of course, anybody who's been paying attention to what's been going on in this country from at least you only need, you could go further back than this, but certainly from COVID forward, knows very well what debanking is.
Yeah, banks closing people's accounts without reason. It's debanking.
That's part of it. And we saw that happen with the Freedom Convoy up in Canada. Yeah. And we also have a memo from Jim Jordan, but here's the clip.
Hasn't lost a step. Trump did have a slight stumble this week while talking about banks, and he introduced an interesting new term called debank.
We're also going to place strong protections to stop banks and regulators from trying to debank you. They want to debank you, and we're going to debank.
I don't know what the hell debank means, but you might have to take D-ambulance to see the doctor.
Oh, yeah. And all the Deutsche Banks in the audience dutifully clap. This is Jim Jordan's memo from just the other 2 weeks ago. Okay. We discussed it on the show. Jim Jordan, the select subcommittee on the weaponization of federal government, writing a letter about FinCEN, which is the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, which is an agency within the Department of Treasury that had been communicating with big banks and suggesting terms for them to search the merchant category codes to communicate with law enforcement about, potential bad actors that may be their clients. Those merchant category codes that were identified and memorialized in this Jim Jordan letter, Trump.
MAGA.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Search Zelle payment messages as well. And then there's all sorts of, they're looking for, homegrown terrorists. And then there's all sorts of other search words they suggested that just basically are proxies for conservative or Trump supporter. Yeah, hilarious. Saturday Night Live. For more on this and other such matters, please be joined by Steve Moore, economist, Govzilla author. Steve, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Good morning, guys. By the way, did you say Scarlett Johansson? What's her name?
Scarlett Johansson. Yeah, you're so current.
Is she in your studio with? I'm so in love with her. Oh my God.
Well,
do you like her more than you like it? Yeah, I was about to say the same thing.
Don't tell me she's a liberal.
Yeah, right. Okay, I won't tell you. Anyway. Speaking on the banking issue, you had something.
Oh, by the way, can I just say one thing before you get into that?
Okay.
Sure.
Did
you see the article in the New York Times? You guys may have already talked about this, about Wilmette and all the migrants that are now going to Wilmette.
Yeah, we made it to big time.
Wilmette went like 70% for Biden, so I think that's exactly where they should go.
I completely agree.
Yeah, and I'm getting all these indignant, texts from my liberal friends, who I went to New Trier with. Oh my God, how dare these, migrants come into our little town here in Wilmette and Winnetka? I'm like, well, wait a minute, you guys voted for Biden. He's made your sanctuary cities. I thought you wanted these people.
Yeah, well, Wilmette just doesn't have all the wraparound services that these poor migrants need. So it'd be much better if we just sent them down the metro to Chicago, where they'll be better taken care of. This is selflessness on behalf of the North Shoreans. Yeah.
And again, you guys probably talked about this already, but being from Chicago, I love to bring this up that. That state legislator who said, hey, maybe you all should home these illegal immigrants in your homes. I mean, you wanted them and they're here and you've got an extra bedroom, come on, do the Christian thing.
I agree. I've volunteered Byron Trott up on the North Shore and many other wealthy individuals on the North Shore. I haven't heard back yet, though.
Yeah, these are like, the rich liberals say, we want to pay more taxes, except we don't want to pay more taxes. We want other people to pay more taxes.
Mm-hmm.
We don't.
Mm-hmm.
We just got a text message into our show. Dan and Amy, I listened to your show. I'm boarding a flight right now from Tucson to Chicago, and half of the plane are illegals being directed by NGOs.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
So, all right.
Your governor and your mayor, you wanted them. You wanted them. Here they are. How do you like it? I mean, I just think there's some delicious irony in all this.
Text that guy boarding the plane from Tucson to Chicago.
Take pictures.
Well, not, but also a spring for the Uber. Send them up to Wilmette when they arrive. All right, so let's get to banking too. So we were talking about the debanking. Yeah. So, something else on this too. This was from your Unleash Prosperity newsletter.
Yeah.
That the commissioners of agriculture in 12 states sent a letter to big banks over their net zero pledges too. So now farmers are in danger of getting debanked by these companies if they don't go along with their climate nonsense. But anyway, address the letter that was sent.
Yeah, so this was, I think, 12 agriculture committees committee chairman in states. I don't know if Illinois was one of them. Probably not. But saying, wait a minute, if we don't have energy, if we don't have oil, gas, and coal, we're not going to be able to have the energy we need to grow food, and so people are going to go without food if we don't have energy. Now, that may surprise people that, gee, you need a lot of energy to produce our food that feeds our 350 million Americans. But this is a big deal, and this net zero, by the way, these people aren't screwing around. They are serious about going from 80% of our energy today comes from fossil fuels. They want to go from 80% to zero over the next 25 years, which would, if you wanted to destroy the country, that would be a really good way to do it. If you wanted to cause famine and malnutrition, that would be a pretty good way to do it. Now, are you following? There's a little footnote to this story. Are you, Dan or Amy, following what's going on in France right now?
Yeah, the farmer revolt. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the farmers are revolting. You can't. This is the thing. People take for granted our food supply because 95% of us don't work on a farm. But if you start diminishing the amount of energy we have, we're not going to have enough food. It's that simple, and that's what the Agriculture Committee, these commissioners were saying, and nobody in Washington or in Springfield seems to be listening.
You will eat the bugs, Klaus Schwab tells us. So, actually, it's more than that, too, in terms of people being serious. I know we don't take these people seriously. Oh, my gosh, I can't believe that person said this. And they are deathly serious, and I mean deathly. I go back to this from the recently concluded WEF in Davos. One of the participants, along with the entire Kerry family, was this woman who wants ecocide to be declared a crime, and she specifically mentioned, harming the environment to be a crime, and she specifically mentioned targeting farmers and ranchers. Now, criminally prosecute them for harming the environment, according to what somebody like her or some governor like a Pritzker or a Newsom says is harming the environment.
Yeah, is that because they use fertilizer, and is that because they use pesticides and things like that to make sure that we have a clean and safe food? Was that why these are are monsters? These people who are our farmers. I mean, these people really are completely nuts. So I mean, I am so shocked that people take this seriously. That somehow, if we just stop using any energy in this country, we're going to change. We're going to stop the rise of the oceans. I mean, I guarantee you, China and India and the rest of the world isn't going to do this. And by the way, Europe tried to do this, right? And you think our economy is bad? My God, Europe is in a complete recession right now because they're so tied to these green energy policies that don't work.
Well, Biden is trying to get in on the act. Now he's opened a new front in his war on American energy independence, and that's against
the LNG,
liquefied natural gas, right?
Yeah. So here's the thing. I mean, I'm so glad you brought this up because if you think about it, natural gas is a wonder fuel in every way. It is abundant. It's made in America. It's reliable. It's cheap, and it's clean burning. Natural gas is a clean burning fuel. Remember when you remember that famous incident when Nancy Pelosi says, I don't like fossil fuels, but I like natural gas. Fossil fuel. I mean, so why in the world are they against natural gas? The reason the United States has reduced our carbon emissions and cleaned our air more than any other country in the world over the last 10 years is we keep transitioning to natural gas, and now they want to shut that down. By the way, if you shut off our LNG, which is liquefied natural gas, which we're exporting to Europe, if we stop exporting that to Europe, guess where the Europeans are going to have to get their natural gas from?
Russia.
Yeah. Exactly. Gee, that sounds like a smart thing, Oh yeah, that's going to be really good for NATO and for the safety of the Europeans. I thought we were trying to get Russia out of Ukraine, and now we're going to give them all this money because they can sell their natural gas at 3 times the price to the French and the Italians and the Spanish and the Germans. I mean, none of this makes any sense from a national security, environmental, or economic standpoint, of course. But and by the way, Biden is doing this as a stop to his hard left green environmental movement. Those people are already with him. I mean, why does he need to keep throwing these guys a bone?
Well, was he doing this as payback, though, to Governor Abbott for securing the border? we're pausing this. I mean, that's a thought.
You know what you are? You're a conspiratorialist, Amy.
Yeah.
But
crazy one, too.
I would never say such a thing. But look, I mean, who's going to suffer from this? We all are. We're going to pay higher prices for natural gas if they stop the production. And these are the same people who didn't want to build the pipelines. We are going to. I say this a lot, and I say this in all seriousness. Ladies and gentlemen, get a generator. Get a generator for your home, because these people, as Dan was saying, they're serious as a heart attack. They are going to continually assault our energy supply. The lights are going to go out. The air conditioning is going to go out. The electric power is going. We're going to have brownouts and blackouts in this country. You heard it first on the Dan and Amy show. So you better be prepared for this, because these people are nutso.
On the inflation, or shrinkflation, as the big guy called it the other day on the trail in South Carolina, shrinkflation. And he mentioned, did you see the thing about the Snickers bars, which is his way of trying to communicate? It's like, what are you trying to say? It's his way of trying to communicate. There was a New York Times op-ed by an economist from UBS that talked about how people receive inflation based on the purchases they make. Biden couldn't explain this, so I'll explain it for him. Maybe you saw it, Steve. But essentially the argument goes, the inflation is coming down for some big ticket items, like, for example, a high-end TV, and this is from the op-ed. With $1,500, a consumer could buy a high-end 55-inch television. But because items in the consumer price basket are weighted by how much money consumers spend on the item in a year, television prices are more important than Snickers bars in the calculation of inflation. So the Snickers bar that goes from $1 to $1.25, you feel more immediately, and he concedes sort of an obvious point. Food prices still going up, consumer electronics, furniture coming down. And so inflation is not the top line is to say inflation is not as bad as you think, and it's coming under control, and it's not that bad. Of course, he doesn't offer the obvious observation that you can't consume a high-end television like the way you need to consume groceries. So that becomes a bit of a political problem for Biden. But the argument is people just don't understand. Inflation is coming down. Food prices are still a problem, but it's all going to work out. The market's up. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, look, inflation has come down, but in fact, we have an item in our hotline today that shows if you look at the commodity index, it's rising again. I think we're actually starting to see a resumption of inflation. And the bottom line is that everything that you buy is 18.6% more expensive on average than it was when Biden came into office. Now, if your income has gone up by 18.6% over the last 3 years, raise your hand, because most of the people have not seen that. So it's very simple. Why are people so against Bidenomics? Because the average American is poorer today in terms of what you can buy with your paycheck than they were 3 years ago. And Amy, that's the reason people are using their credit card more and more and not being able to pay the balance on the credit card. Because, I mean, you tell me all the time, you go to the grocery store and you get sticker shock. You go to the gas pump, you get sticker shock. Try buying an airline ticket, by the way. It's unbelievable how much things cost.
Yeah. And then people are using their credit cards at grocery stores, which I've never seen before.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. I mean, you've got a situation now where I think, and this is, maybe I'm going to sound like a conspiratorialist. Here's what I think the grand plan is. The American people think that when Joe Biden, if he were to get reelected, that he's going to forgive people on their consumer credit card debt.
Oh, no chance. That's,
I mean, wow. To buy votes, maybe.
No way.
Well, how does that make any less sense than?
No, it's true. I mean, that's a fair point, I guess. But yeah, that's a fair. I mean, yeah, I shouldn't be so quick.
What? By the way, I think he's also going to forgive people for their mortgages that they can't pay.
Yeah, sure, why not? Fantastic. Yeah, if you're in for a penny, you're in for a pound, I suppose, right? By the way, some good news. UPS is cutting 12,000 jobs. And I say that sarcastically as good news, but isn't that what Jay Powell wants? He wants people laid off so we can cool inflation.
Yeah, right, exactly. If nobody were working in this country, we wouldn't have any inflation at all.
Exactly. It'd be Xanadu. That's why we got to get people separated from their jobs. Then we're really going to be cooking with, and not with natural gas either, of course.
Yeah. Now, Steve, Dan, I know we're running out of time, but I want you and Amy to call all your friends on the North Shore and tell them do the Christian thing, open up your home. I mean, a lot of these people, the kids have left home. They've got the bedrooms that are available, and the migrants are here. And if you voted for Joe Biden, you have a moral responsibility to let the migrants in.
You lost them at Christian, but yeah, we'll pass the word. Steve Moore, economist, GovZilla author. Thanks for joining us, Steve. Appreciate it.
And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
The more you listen, the more you'll know. This is Chicago's Morning Answer. On AM 560, The Answer.
As a business owner, do you have a strategy for exiting your business? Most business owners don't. Studies done by the Exit Planning Institute show 75% of business owners who don't have an exit plan are dissatisfied with their exit, and 80% of businesses put to market never sell. Total Clarity Wealth Management understands the hesitation to discuss exiting. Will customers leave? Will competitors take advantage? Will key employees leave? That's why they offer confidential planning. Contact Anne Marie at Total Clarity Wealth Management. Discover what the financial foundation should be to pursue an exit that is satisfying. At some point, you are going to leave your business. Will it be on your terms? Total Clarity can show you the way to financial readiness and keep you on track. Anne Marie is a certified exit planning advisor. Visit TotalClarityBusiness.com. That's TotalClarityBusiness.com. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through Total Clarity Wealth Management, Inc., a registered investment advisor and separate entity from LPL Financial.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-353-2973 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-353-2973. That's 800-353-2973. What do you have to lose? Call 800-353-2973. Again, 800-353-2973.
Guys, if you've noticed a lack of energy, motivation, and drive, it could be low T. Be sure to schedule your health assessment with my friends at Low T Center. They offer the convenience of physician-monitored, self-inject, at-home testosterone treatments with an average payment of $150 a month cash pay, including labs and medication. If you don't live near a Low T Center or just need the convenience of at-home treatment, Low T Center makes it easy shipping treatments directly to you. Go to lowtcenter.com now to book your appointment online. That's Low T Center, reinventing men's healthcare.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
I've just been doing great, and I just feel like it's a definite advantage to take them. Let me just say one other thing. I mentioned to my doctor that I was taking Balance of Nature, and they said they were very positive about that. And they said that was really good. That's a good product, and so I've been very pleased.
Step into the new year with a new you. Start your journey to better health by calling 1-800-246-8751 or by going to balanceofnature.com and signing up as a new preferred customer to get 35% off your first order, plus a free fiber and spice supplement with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Hurry, this is your last chance to take advantage of this offer. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this exclusive holiday offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Freedom and liberty are important to all of us in Illinois, from Rockford to Carbondale, from Quincy to Decatur. If you're looking for civil, intellectual conversations with those shaping the future of freedom, try the Future of Freedom podcast with me, Scott Bertrand. We speak with leaders across the country in the greater conservative and libertarian movements. In-depth conversations about where the next intellectual battles will happen across the country. It's the Future of Freedom podcast. Find it at americastalking.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 8:08, we've got an update on those pipe bombs discovered in advance of January 6th from Tom Massey, the Republican congressman from Kentucky. We'll start there with Julie Kelly at 8:08.
I can't wait. But first, let's stop by that newsroom. Here is Mike Scott.
The City of Chicago Council will meet to vote on a resolution calling for a ceasefire in the Israel-Hamas war. WIND Chicago News Time is 8 o'clock.
President Biden will go where he's been urged to go for a year. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News, East Palestine, Ohio.
The leader of our country did not show up to the greatest catastrophe of 2023. And now he's going to show up because it is an election year.
DJ Oakley's a business owner in East Palestine, where Saturday will mark 1 year since a toxic train derailment. We don't yet know exactly when the president will visit.
You know, the frustrating part is he's going to see empty buildings. And because businesses have left, you know, we are out of our building. We had to move. It was either adapt or die.
Fox's Peter Ducey's at the White House.
Once residents eventually returned, the EPA tried to reassure them that the air and the water was safe, but there have been a lot of publicly shared concerns about illnesses now for months, and the whole time. Even though there have been tons of trips to Delaware and vacations in Lake Tahoe and St. Croix, we've been told that a trip to Ohio was just too much.
Now, President Biden says he's decided how the U.S. will retaliate to the attack on a base in Jordan, killing 3 American soldiers, blamed on Iran-backed militants. Iran warns if it's attacked, there will be a decisive response. And today, a U.S. Navy destroyer shot down another anti-ship missile fired by militants Iran supports in Yemen.
The Houthis say they will continue attacking American and British Navy vessels in the Red Sea, acts they claim are in self-defense. The US and the UK have launched strikes on Houthi targets in Yemen in response to the rebel group firing on commercial shipping traffic.
Fox's Jonathan Savage. House Republicans advanced with a committee vote last night articles of impeachment against Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, accusing him of allowing record illegal immigration. All Democrats oppose it, and Congressman Eric Swalwell tells Republicans
any shortcomings that Mayorkas may have, frankly, are your fault. He's asking for authorities to do more, to have more border agents, to have more resources.
The full House will consider impeachment next. America's listening to Fox News.
38 degrees. It's 8:02 on AM 560, The Answer, and good morning. I'm Mike Scott. The City of Chicago will meet today to discuss a resolution calling for a ceasefire in the Israel-Hamas war. The measure has the backing of Mayor Brandon Johnson, but faces opposition from several city council members. A Chicago police officer has now been charged with aggravated DUI in the death of a woman fatally struck outside of the House of Blues in December. Tangi Brown was off duty at the time of that crash. Conditions in Chicago's migrant shelters and the inability to provide critical resources to the migrants who crossed the border illegally and then came to Chicago took center stage at a city council hearing yesterday.
Over the past 2 years, the city has worked hard to meet the needs of new arrivals, but real concerns have also arisen as to the conditions in our shelters and landing zones.
Alderman Andre Vasquez, a warehouse in the Pilsen neighborhood, is one of the shelters that have reportedly had some of the most concerning living conditions, including reports of inadequate food, bug and rodent infestations, and a lack of containment for infectious disease. Bulls lost to Toronto 118-107 last night after leading by 10 at halftime. College hoops, number 14 Illinois, a road win over Ohio State, 87-75. They have Nebraska on Sunday. It's a big night for Northwestern basketball. The men take on number 2 Purdue. The Lady Cats host number 3 Iowa. The news, a service of Salem Surround. Go to surroundchicago.com today. 8:03, time for the AM 560 Business Beat, a service of Signature Bank. Visit signaturebank.bank for all your commercial banking needs. Now, the latest from the Fox Business Network.
I'm Elizabeth McDonald, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Boeing has just reported it's narrowed its quarterly loss.
The loss is 47 cents a share. The street was looking for a loss of 78 cents a share. They did come in a little bit stronger on revenue, $22.02 billion. The street was looking for $21.1 billion.
Fox's Cheryl Casoni. And one of the world's wealthiest people faces a setback. Elon Musk's Tesla compensation package getting a red light from a Delaware judge who voided the billionaire's record-breaking $56 billion Tesla pay deal deal, siding with shareholders who sued the board over the agreement. Chancellor Kathleen McCormick, in her decision, calling the process leading to the approval of Musk's compensation plan deeply flawed, citing the billionaire's close relationship to Tesla's board. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Lillian Wu, invested in you.
8:05, a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Mike Gallagher doesn't think Biden will make November.
I can't believe that anybody thinks this guy has the stamina or the cognitive ability to get through this year, much less 4 more years after that. It's impossible. Go for it. If you think he's the guy, Joe Biden's going to be the future of the Democrat Party, knock yourself out.
The Mike Gallagher Show, weekdays at 9, right before Dennis Prager at 11 on AM 560. The Answer.
A massive data leak, being called the mother of all breaches, has been announced. Billions upon billions of records with sensitive data from previous breaches, newly stolen data, and privately sold databases have been exposed. Cybercriminals can use this information to commit identity theft. Help protect yourself and join the millions who trust LifeLock. LifeLock detects identity threats and alerts you if your information is being used. If you become a victim, LifeLock will work to fix it. Save up to 25% your first year with promo code NEWS at LifeLock.com.
Looking for top-notch personal protection? The Smith & Wesson Equalizer is here to level the playing field. Easy to rack slide, easy to control ergonomic grip. It's designed for you. With a 10, 13, and 15-round magazine included, size up for better control or size down for easier concealment. Don't miss out on the opportunity to upgrade your safety. Visit your local dealer now. To learn more about the Equalizer, visit smith-wesson.com. Smith & Wesson, empowering Americans. All capacity sizes may not be available in your jurisdiction. Be sure to check your local laws and regulations.
Bad decisions limit future options. Make enough bad decisions and you'll destroy your life. Listen to The Flot Line with Rick Hughes this Sunday morning at 7. The Flot Line describes a main line of resistance in your soul built on God's Word. Listen this Sunday for inspiration, motivation, education, all without manipulation. That's The Flot Line with Rick Hughes this Sunday morning at 7 on AM 560. The Answer.
Feel like you're trying to push a boulder uphill wearing skates? If you run or manage a local business today, you're challenged like never before. We get it, and we want to help. We're Salem Surround. We're a full-service marketing agency that'll help you increase your customer base by designing incredibly effective plans to reach your consumers day, night, and everywhere they might be.
If you're a local business and want to see what Salem Surround can do for you, visit surroundchicago.com. Remember to visit surroundchicago.com today.
Markets are trembling. Don't be a casualty of economic upheaval. Do what I did and embrace the safety of gold. Talk to the experts at Noble Gold Investments today, and you can claim a free 3-ounce silver American Virtue coin. With gold at an all-time high, you need to jump on this. Just use the promo code GOLD. Go to noblegoldinvestments.com now.
Past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals, including gold, involves risks. Consult with your tax attorney or financial professional before making an investment decision.
Looking for top-notch personal protection? The Smith & Wesson Equalizer is here to level the playing field. Easy to rack slide, easy to control ergonomic grip. It's designed for you. With a 10, 13, and 15-round magazine included, size up for better control or size down for easier concealment. Don't miss out on the opportunity to upgrade your safety. Visit your local dealer now. To learn more about the Equalizer, visit smith-wesson.com. Smith & Wesson, empowering Americans. All capacity sizes may not be available in your jurisdiction. Be sure to check your local laws and regulations.
8:08. It's Check the Roads, Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. And we'll start on the Edens, 20 minutes in, Lake Cook Road to the junction. Stop-and-go traffic inbound on the Kennedy between Montrose and Division. Right now, 28 minutes in from the junction, 47 in from O'Hare. The Ike, 65 minutes, 390 into the old post office. Delays on the Jane Addams due to an accident. Left lane blocked on I-90 eastbound just after Route 25. Things are slow as well in Deer Park, accident, Lake Cook Road in Quentin, and in Westmont, an accident, Route 83 and Oakmont. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast from the QC Kinetics Weather Center. Mild day, high of 46. Patchy clouds, 38 overnight, 37 right now. Next news coming up at 8:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. So updating that video from J6 that was obtained by Kentucky Republican Congressman Tom Massey and given to Revolver News' Darren Beatty, who posted it and discussed it with Tucker Carlson a couple weeks ago. This is those pipe bombs that were allegedly planted near the RNC and the DNC on January 6th. And the video, of course, is the pipe bomb near the DNC being discovered by somebody, and then that somebody telling Secret Service and DC Metro Police, who were stationed right outside the DNC, because Kamala Harris, the VP-elect at the time, was there, telling them about it. But then there's no evasive action taken, and people are milling about, taking pictures, kids are walking across the street. So who was the guy that noticed in quotation marks, it's questionable, noticed the pipe bomb by this bench not far from the entrance to the DNC and where where Secret Service and Metro Police were stationed? Wasn't sure. The initial reporting, I think it was the Blaze, he was plainclothes, either Metro Police or Capitol Police. Well, Tom Massey has an update on it because he talked to Capitol Police. And he was on with Matt Gaetz on Gaetz's podcast, and he had this to offer, did Representative Massey.
The person who found the pipe bomb, the person who, D'Antuono, who was leading the investigation, say, oh yeah, the person who found it, it'd be Investigation 101, that they would be a suspect initially, until ruled out. You're saying that person was an undercover, plainclothes Capitol Police officer, and the Capitol Police confirmed that to you today?
They confirmed that to me today, yes.
All right, so he was an plainclothes Capitol Police officer who discovered the pipe bomb. Okay. And the timing of this discovery is something that Massey and Gaetz kicked around as well, because the pipe bomb is discovered. They set up a perimeter which took resources away from the Capitol in terms of the bike fencing they were going to put up and personnel inside, and made the Capitol more accessible to the masses. Take a listen.
I don't know who did it, but I can tell you a consequence of this, because this is buried in the back of the January 6th committee report, that there was a call to bring more bike racks to the Capitol. They had hundreds of them loaded up, ready to bring to the Capitol to reinforce the Capitol. And it turns out those never made it because this DNC pipe bomb was discovered, and they set up a perimeter and blocked them from coming.
So if there was a booby trap intended to have people commit a technical violation of federal criminal law with no intent to break the law, that was facilitated perhaps by the very interestingly timed discovery of these two devices.
Yeah, whether there was intent or not, the result of this, according to the January 6th committee, was that it made it easier to breach the Capitol because the reinforcements couldn't be brought to the Capitol.
For more on this and a couple of other matters, we're pleased to be joined again by Julie Kelly. You can get her writings and reportings at her Substack, Declassified with Julie Kelly. Also, pick up her book, January 6th, How Democrats Use the Capitol Protest to Launch a War on Terror Against the Political Right. Julie, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. Thanks for having me on.
What's your reaction to that back and forth that Massey had with Gaetz on sort of the latest and greatest on the pipe bombs?
I mean, this just amplifies what Darren Beatty at Revolver has been reporting. I've been reporting about the pipe bomb as well for the past few years, and the suspicious circumstances surrounding not just the pipe bomb that was found at the DNC, where we later found out a year later that Kamala Harris had gone there for some strange reason, But about 20 minutes or 30 minutes before that, a device allegedly was found outside or near the headquarters of the Republican National Committee. And the individual who found that also is highly suspicious. Her name is Carlin Younger. She was a contractor for the Commerce Department working for a law enforcement private-public partnership that had just received a $92 million grant from the FBI in December of 2020. So this whole thing looks, again, like a hoax. And the fact that you have Stephen D'Antuono, who was the head of the Washington FBI field office, who made the pipe bomb, scandal a big part of his initial investigation. But now, more than 3 years later, the FBI doesn't have the identity of the alleged pipe bomber. And D'Antuono told a House committee that, the investigation got too complicated, too granular. He really wasn't paying that much attention to it. Oh, and by the way, the cell phone data that they think might be attached to the alleged pipe bomber, he thinks was corrupted, so they can't ID who that person was that they said the night before planted those devices outside of both of the headquarters.
And the pipe bombs were duds, right?
Right,
Even though they initially,
fake?
even though they initially reported that they were not, and it was not ATF that took possession, but it was the FBI that took the pipe bombs went to Quantico. So they had them. They said they were live, but they turned out not to be live, right?
That's exactly right, and that's something that Stephen D'Antuono also said, that these were viable devices, that they were potentially deadly. And here you have a sitting U.S. senator who is about to become the first female vice president, again, inexplicably left the Capitol at about 11:25. I have a whole report on this in my Substack. And she's still at the DNC headquarters after the joint session started at 1 o'clock. And the Secret Service and Metro Police, her security detail, missed this device, which, by the way, it wasn't, buried somewhere outside.
No.
It was propped up on like a bunch of dead leaves between two benches.
Yeah, but
so
there
how
was no
that missed?
Yeah, there was no sense of urgency. I mean, they walked by it. Some guy took a picture. They let kids walk by it, and an assassination attempt on a VP elect is pretty big news. And why did this never come out before?
Well, and to your point too, Julie, they don't sweep 10 feet away from where they are and find this thing.
That's right. And why has Kamala Harris never spoken about her near-death experience at the DNC? Furthermore, the DOJ lied about it for a year in charging documents against G6ers, saying that the Capitol grounds was off limits because Kamala Harris, a Secret Service protectee at the time, was at the Capitol, rendering the entire grounds then a restricted area, which of course no one knew at the time. DOJ lied about it as well. And it wasn't until Politico report at the end of 2021. Oh, by the way, she wasn't there. She was at the DNC. She's never mentioned it. No reporter has ever asked her about it. You would think that the fact that a white supremacist MAGA bomber almost took out Kamala Harris would be a huge international crisis.
And that she would use it in her re-election campaign.
I mean, of all of the things we've heard about January 6th, 2 years of a select committee, Merrick Garland and Joe Biden saying this is the darkest day comparable to the Civil War, but you leave out the fact that a MAGA bomber almost killed Kamala Harris. Come on, none of this adds up.
Yeah. I wanted to get to a piece you wrote over at realclearinvestigations.com as well. I mean, I love the dot connecting here, talking about Washington power couples. One in particular, a name that has bubbled up to the surface because she sits on the D.C. Court of Appeals, and she had that exchange with Trump's lawyer on the issue of whether or not Trump has immunity and is immune from prosecutions being brought against him by Jack Smith in D.C. Her name is Florence Pan. She's the one who had the exchange with Trump's lawyer where she said, well, if an official act is immune from prosecution, short of impeachment, then could the president can direct SEAL Team 6 to assassinate a political opponent? And that was the big headline from the oral arguments. Anyway, so that's Florence Pan. Florence Pan and her husband, though, I mean, the tentacles. This is really great. Her husband is a guy named Max Steyer. Tell us about Max Steyer and Florence Pan and this lovely Beltway couple.
Yeah, so here's another power couple in cahoots to make Trump and his associates make their lives miserable, use their power to destroy him. So Max Steyer runs a Democratic Party-connected nonprofit. He's working with the Biden administration to put in place these preventive measures that if Trump wins, he's not going to be able to reform the civil service. And he's made this publicly known. And he said a second Trump presidency would be a threat to democracy. This is Florence Pan, who's making judicial decisions related to Donald Trump and January 6th. This is her husband. Anyway, Max Steyer, some of you may know, is a Kavanaugh accuser. He piled on to the Brett Kavanaugh right, character assassination. He claimed that he saw Brett Kavanaugh engaged in lewd behavior when they were freshmen at Yale. He contacted the FBI. He contacted his buddies and Democratic senators to tell them about this. So this was publicly known. It's been written in books. There was just a documentary about the Kavanaugh scandal that was premiered at the Sundance Film Festival last year. Max Steyer was part of that. And here he is married to Florence Pan, who will author the decision at the appellate level that will uphold the district court, Tanya Chutkan, an Obama appointee, for the first time that will decide a former president is liable for criminal prosecution for his conduct in office. That's who she is, and that's who he is.
So when do we find out that E. Jean Carroll is Max Steyer's aunt? This is just so. Right. I mean, he's just. Right. No. There's no dots connect. There's no conflicts of interest. These are all, dedicated, patriotic Americans who don't have any political axes to grind. No, of course not. We're supposed to take this all at face value, whatever they tell us, or whatever they put out in a press release, right?
That's right. And Max Steyer had this big gala in October. His wife, Florence Pan, is there. Who's one of the speakers? Deputy Attorney General Lisa Monaco, who runs the Department of Justice, who initiated both of criminal investigations into Donald Trump, who's still behind the scenes doing all the dirty work at the DOJ, longtime Obama loyalist. She's speaking at her husband's event, and Florence Pan is in the audience. She's already decided that the deciding vote on critical J6 issues that are now going to the Supreme Court. And then a few months later, she presents this ridiculous hypothetical about SEAL Team 6 and Trump ordering him to assassinate a political rival. What would happen? All is set up. They're all in.
Good.
It's not a swamp. It's a trailer park. That's what I call these days.
That's good.
Julie Kelly, her Substack, Declassified with Julie Kelly, also her book, January 6th, How Democrats Use the Capitol Protests to Launch a War on Terror Against the Political Right. Julie, thanks as always.
Thanks, guys. Have a great day.
You too, and she joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
It's like a hot, steaming cup of information to start your day. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Is your prostate secretly being destroyed without you knowing it? All the ads for these prostate pills like Super Beta Prostate, Saw Palmetto, ProstaStream, Prostagenics, and others. Want to know which pills work and which are garbage? Now you can. Get a free copy of the new guide, Prostate Secrets, that pulls back the curtain on the prostate pill industry. Learn what is really in these pills. Which pill has over 987 adverse event reports filed against it with the FDA? It's shocking. Learn the one food to avoid that is a prostate killer, and discover the 3 so-called health foods that destroy your prostate. Get your free copy at prostatesecrets.com. That's prostatesecrets.com. This free guide will show you how to end your prostate problems without drugs or surgery, 5 important things to do to protect your prostate, and much more. Warning, this guide is controversial and may be offensive to some readers as it pulls no punches. So go to prostatesecrets.com. Prostatesecrets.com. That's prostatesecrets.com.
All right, true story. About a month ago, I was at McCormick Place, and I met this woman, and she was, wincing and grabbing her knee, and it was all swollen, and I asked her what happened. She said she had knee replacement in July, and it was months ago, and it was still swollen. She was still in pain. And she didn't have to do that. There are other things to do besides going under the knife. And QC Kinetics is where it's at. QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in regenerative, non-surgical pain relief. You know, your body has what it needs to restore and repair that damaged joint tissue. And QC Kinetics can make it happen. No drugs, no surgery, no downtime. You don't have to use vacation time for surgery. So the future of pain treatment has arrived, folks. Hundreds of board-certified QC Kinetic providers have treated tens of thousands of satisfied patients all over America, people with back pain, hip pain, any pain associated with arthritis or an injury. This is not a Band-Aid. This is a revolutionary treatment that can get you moving again. So get your life back. And listen, it's non-surgical. If this is a year that you've decided to fight back against the pain, then take the first step. Call QC Kinetics now. Get a free consultation on the calendar today. The number to call, 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955. 312-809-5955.
Relief Factor, pain relief that's natural, pain relief that works, and pain relief that attacks the source of the pain. That's the experience of tens of thousands of Americans who are taking Relief Factor right now. See their incredible video endorsements at relieffactor.com and then order your 3-week quick starter pack for just $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. Find out if it can work for you like it works for me by ordering your 3-week quick starter pack today. relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com. Be the next success story.
At Progressive, we love sports and saving you money, so we bundled them together.
The final horse now in the gate, and they're off. They're starting off with a double toe loop jump, leaving a difficult 7-10 split as there's movement on the inside rail. Only 9 pins separate them now as they head to the final quarter mile. They're neck and neck. It's down to the last frame. Here comes the axle jump. They bundled their home and auto insurance with Progressive. Win, strike, savings, gold.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
Attention business owners and anyone who makes some marketing decisions for your company. Amy Jacobson here. It's a new year, and what are you doing to jumpstart your business and reach new customers? If you do the same thing you did in 2023, then you should expect the same results. But we have some good news. We still have opportunities for you to become a Food for the Poor business benefactor. Make a one-time tax-deductible donation of $2,500, and AM 560 will give you 40 one-minute commercials to air right here on this radio station. That gift will feed more than 60 children in Latin America and the Caribbean for an entire year. And you'll reach a new audience of potential customers. Don't wait. Call Anjanette Natowski right now, 847-472-8951. That's 847-472-8951. Or visit 560theanswer.com/food for the poor.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
I've just been doing great, and I just feel like it's a definite advantage to take them. Well, let me just say one other thing. I mentioned to my doctor that I was taking Balance of Nature, and they said they were very positive about that. And they said that was really good. That's a good product. And so I've been very pleased.
Step into the new year with a new you. Start your journey to better health by calling 1-800-246-8751 or by going to balanceofnature.com and signing up as a new preferred customer to get 35% off your first order, plus a free fiber and spice supplement with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Hurry, this is your last chance to take advantage of this offer. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this exclusive holiday offer by using discount code Chicago.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 8:38, we'll talk to our old friend, Dr. Joel Zinberg, about science and communicable diseases and the ongoing fallout from the response to COVID. That's at 8:38.
But first, let's stop by the newsroom to catch up with news from here at home and around the world. The one and only, here is Mike Scott.
At 8:29, we have 38 degrees in Chicago. Out of Washington this morning, President Biden plans to visit an Ohio community still recovering from a toxic train derailment. Fox's Jared Halpern has more from the White House.
President Biden plans to travel to East Palestine, Ohio next month, about a year after a Norfolk Southern train derailment spilled hazardous chemicals and burned toxic gas in the air. The president has faced criticism for not visiting the area in the aftermath of the derailment, though the administration says it has mobilized a whole-of-government response to coordinate environmental protection and hold Norfolk Southern accountable. Other officials have been to East Palestine since the derailment, including the EPA administrator and Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg. At the White House, Jared Halpern, Fox News.
House Republicans are voting to advance their efforts to impeach Department of Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas.
Secretary Mayorkas' actions have forced our hand. We cannot allow this border crisis to continue. We cannot allow fentanyl to flood across our border, or criminals to waltz in undeterred. And we cannot allow a cabinet secretary with no regard for the separation of powers or the rule of law to remain in office.
That's Republican Mark Green of Tennessee. The vote paves the way for a full House vote, which could come as soon as next week. President Biden says he's made a decision on how to respond to the drone attack in Jordan that killed 3 U.S. service members.
That's what he told reporters Tuesday while departing the White House. The president added he holds Iran responsible for supporting the militant group who carried out the attack. He emphasized, however, he's not seeking a wider war in the Middle East. I'm Mark Mayfield.
The Federal Open Market Committee is preparing to make its first announcement on interest rates this year. Two-day Fed meeting ends this afternoon with the most of the analysts predicting no rate change. City of Chicago City Council will meet to vote on a resolution calling for a ceasefire in the Israel-Hamas war. The measure has the backing from Mayor Brandon Johnson, but it still faces opposition from several council members. Some city leaders have been working on the largely symbolic resolution that has empowered some anti-Jewish protesters. Chicago police officer has now been charged with aggravated DUI in the death of a woman fatally struck outside the House of Blues in River North in December. Tangi Brown was off duty at the time of that crash. Hundreds of nurses at a Joliet hospital could be staging another walkout next week. The 500 union nurses at Ascension St. Joseph notified the hospital yesterday and mentioned that they plan to walk off the job February 8 and 9. The same nurses went on strike twice last year. Snowplows in Wisconsin could soon have the power to control stoplights. Lawmakers there are considering a plan that would give state and local plows the same kind of gear that police and firefighters have to control traffic lights. Bulls lost to Toronto 118-107 last night. Big Ten hardwood, it's the Fighting Illini road win over Ohio State, 87-75. They host Nebraska on Sunday. It's a big night for Northwestern basketball. The men take on number 2 Purdue. The women host number 3 Iowa. The news service of Lowe's. Get the appliances you need right away at Lowe's. Explore the largest assortment of brands you trust, plus take advantage of their everyday financing offers. Lowe's knows home improvement, subject to credit approval. A check of traffic and weather is on the way next on AM 560.
Charlie Kirk sees trouble in Georgia.
So Big Fannie Willis goes after, and she hires Nathan Wade, her lover, to be the special prosecutor on the case. A private sector attorney brought onto the case to assist. Now, according to the complaint, this is all allegedly, I wouldn't be surprised if it's true, Wade has literally never prosecuted a felony before.
The Charlie Kirk Show. Afternoons at 1, right before Sebastian Gorka at 3 on AM 560. The Answer.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
Honey, I am like a different woman. I mean, finally one day I kept seeing that commercial and I said, what the heck, what do I got to lose? I started feeling a little bit better. So I got my sister on them. I got my daughter on them. I can't say enough about them. I really can't. Those commercials that you all do is the truth.
Step into the new year with a new you. Start your journey to better health by calling 1-800-246-8751 or by going to balanceofnature.com and signing up as a new preferred customer to get 35% off your first order, plus a free fiber and spice supplement with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Hurry, this is your last chance to take advantage of this offer. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this exclusive holiday offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Have you been struggling to find an easy, safe, and secure document scanning solution for Salesforce.com, Microsoft 365, SharePoint, or OnBase by Highland? Your struggle is now over, and it's time to get your documents and operations into the 21st century. With IoT Smart Connected Scanning, it's easy to turn physical paper into digital documents and have them directly uploaded to the cloud with IoT Smart Connected Scanning from IDT. And you don't need a degree in computing or IT to make it happen. Using QR code technology uniquely configured for your specific business, anyone can set the IoT Smart Connected Scanning device up in 5 minutes or less, saving your organization money and valuable time. Remote employees can even capture documents and send them safely and seamlessly. Organize documents efficiently and securely with IoT Smart Connected Scanning from IDT. To see a demo or to order now, go to ready4idt.com. That's ready4idt.com. Use promo code SMART and receive 10% off your order. IDT, putting paper in its place.
It's 8:36. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. Inbound Eden's at 26 minutes and climbing right now from Lake Cook Road into the junction. 50 minutes in on the Kennedy from Montrose into the Burns Circle interchange. DuSable Lakeshore Drive jamming up northbound right at Bryn Mawr all the way through Hollywood. Jane Addams accident left shoulder eastbound just after Route 25 all the way to Barrington Road. In the loop, you have Lake Street between State and Wabash closed because of a stuck semi. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Now your official Chicagoland weather forecast in the QC Kinetics Weather Center. Mild day ahead, high of 46. Patchy clouds, low 38. Mild with more sun than clouds tomorrow and a high near 50. 38 right now at O'Hare, 38 at Midway. Your next news update is at 9. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560. The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Chronic absenteeism. Absenteeism at school, K through 12, which is defined as missing at least 15 school days. It doubled during the lockdowns, and even after school resumed in person and there were all the quote-unquote mitigations, absenteeism, and it persists to this day. One superintendent, it's well documented if a student misses more than 10 days of school in a school year, there's marked impact on their ability to remain caught up or even to catch up, given many gaps that we have in the educational experiences for students. Yeah. Given the quality of the government schools, too. But this is something, again, that persists. So what did we do putting this in the rearview mirror? Let's just, agree that fog of war, some mistakes were made, and maybe we could have done this, and maybe we could have done that, but let's just all follow Travis Kelce's lead, get your booster, focus on Taylor Swift, and move on. No. Not going to. Nope.
Never.
Nope.
Never. No amnesty.
And you have to continue to have conversations about the information that is being presented, the ongoing impacts, so that people are properly chastened. The people that need to be properly chastened, or the people that need to understand how they were buffaloed or gave way to hysteria. so that there is not the madness associated with the next crisis, public health or otherwise. At least that's my view on it. For more on the topic and, again, the rolling assessment of the damage done, pleased to be joined again by Dr. Joel Zinberg, Competitive Enterprise Institute Senior Fellow, Director of Public Health and the American Wellbeing Initiative at Paragon Health Institute as well. Dr. Zinberg, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
So we've heard some pronouncements over the last couple of weeks, closed-door testimony from Fauci, Francis Collins video surfacing from a talk he gave at an event in Minnesota over the summer, where there's sort of kind of like not really mea culpas, but sort of like, here's what we were focused on, and we weren't focused on everything that other people wanted us focused on, and some things sort of, slip past the goalie. So, we did the best we could. Our intentions and motivations were pure, and I can understand why some people are asking questions after the fact about some of the decisions that were made. But, hey, live and learn.
Well, it's a little worse than live and learn. I mean, what's come out from the congressional testimony is that much of the science, so-called science, that they were imploring everyone in the country to follow was pulled out of thin air. Things like the 6-foot social distancing measures were made up. There was no scientific evidence for that. The stuff about the masks, which Fauci flip-flopped all over the place throughout the pandemic, had no scientific basis. And it was known at the outset of the pandemic that there was no real basis for generalized masking, was imposed without evidence. Even the vaccine mandates, which Fauci has published in scientific journals, they had reason to think that this vaccine would have limited effectiveness in stopping transmission, and even then only for a short period of time. Didn't deter Fauci and his colleagues from pushing for mandates for years into the pandemic. And this all resulted in stuff like the school closures you were talking about, which is going to impact the lives of all of the children in this country, and particularly children who are disadvantaged and most vulnerable.
And I mean, and this doesn't even get into all the spend and the continued spend and sort of the ongoing repurposing of the spend, the money that was printed and distributed willy-nilly. We're having COVID funds redirected by big city mayors to deal with migrants, like in Chicago, as we know here. So, I mean, this of course was never envisioned, but this is the point that people were making. Money is fungible. Once it's gone, it's gone. This sort of oversight. How does the mayor of Chicago decide to repurpose COVID funds for something other than COVID related rather than return it to the federal government? Well, that's how we do things. I mean, that's a whole nother aspect of it too. And that also includes how we fund these public health agencies who then turn around and fund, well, God knows what. I don't know, the Wuhan Virology Lab.
Well, look, anytime the government gets involved in funding, there's always the potential and, in fact, probably the certitude of fraud. And that's what happened here. They were shoveling hundreds of billions of dollars out the door with very little oversight. And as you say, there was no requirement that they spend this on COVID-related things, and the money's still laying around. The government refuses to ask for the money back. So, of course, the local groups are going to spend it on whatever's convenient to spend it on.
But now we don't trust the government. I mean, especially when it comes to vaccines. Well, and they keep pushing, pregnant women should get this RSV vaccine if you want to help your child. I mean, were there any case studies even done on that particular vaccine?
Well, a lot of vaccines and other medications are barely tested in pregnant women or in pediatric populations because it's very hard to do. So, this is an ongoing problem, and it was certainly a problem with the COVID vaccine that, the vaccine was pushed for pediatric populations, even though there was little or no work done to study its safety. It was really done primarily in adult populations. And it was this pushing of the vaccine on the pediatric populations and the insistence that kids get vaccinated before they're allowed back in school that exacerbated the problems that started with the lockdowns and the school closures. Kids were kept out of school, just destroying their educational prospects and disrupting the families who needed those kids in school. And now we're tasked with trying to find home care and take care of their kids at home.
And the lack of transparency in the medical profession, both on the health insurance side as well as the hospital and even practitioner side. This has been a discussion recently with the Select Committee on COVID. And we've seen publication of schedules from health insurers like Anthem, where if you get X percent of our members vaccinated, you get this much. If you get X, the next level up, you get this much, and so forth. And one pediatrician who testified before that House Select Committee basically saying, how do we go back to our patients and say, well, we did things maybe because of a carrot, maybe because of a stick that was being brandished by our employer, and maybe some of the things that we did were not in our patients' best interests?
Well, look, the one thing that has been shown to be true about these COVID vaccines is they do lower the risk of serious illness and death if you are infected. The problem is that's not how they were promoted. They were promoted that they were going to stop the transmission. Fauci kept insisting that, you're being irresponsible and unfair to people around you if you don't get vaccinated. Because he said it was going to stop you from getting infected and stop you from infecting the people around you. And he knew that wasn't true. And he repeated that falsehood over and over and over again, and is only sort of now coming clean about it.
But don't we understand that the risk of myocarditis in young men is greater than the risk of COVID for otherwise healthy young men, young boys?
It's probably not greater, but I do agree with you that the risk of myocarditis in young men was downplayed, and also the fact that COVID poses very little risk to healthy young people. That was also downplayed. So you left parents taken out of the loop. They no longer had the right to weigh that information and decide if their kids should be vaccinated or not. They were put in a position where the kids had to be vaccinated, otherwise they couldn't go to school.
Right.
So yes, that information needed to be out there. Yeah.
And the incentive structure for the healthcare industry needed to be out there too, so I could take that into account. Well, these guys are incentivized, or even at least ask the question. I mean, I understand that you're incentivized to get X percent of Anthem members vaccinated, but I want you to make a decision or tell me what your best medical advice is based on my kid, not based on your compensation schedule.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously, every patient is different, and that discussion needs to take place between their physician and the patient, or in the case of kids, the family of the child, and have a full discussion of what the risks and benefits of a particular treatment, whether it's a vaccine or anything else. And that was, and to some extent, physicians were hampered here because the Fauci, Collins at the NIH, and others in the public health establishment were hiding a lot of this information. And anytime anyone tried to put out contrary information, like the folks who published the Great Barrington Declaration,
right,
they were slapped down and they were suppressed. I mean, that's part of what we've been learning from all these emails and freedom of information requests, that there were concerted efforts by the public health establishment to suppress any contrary points of view. And as it turned out, those points of view were basically correct.
Well, what about all the elite athletes and then, people that's perfectly healthy that just dropped dead of a heart attack? Is that because we're focusing on that more and all of them we find out subsequently were vaccinated, or is that something real?
I think that's more coincidence. I mean, unfortunately, you've had elite athletes dropping dead of a variety of things in very public ways, even before we had COVID and COVID vaccines. So I don't think the two are related.
Yeah, I don't know either, but it would seem to me it would be given the lack of trust that they've generated, it would be interesting.
Look, yeah, that's the real casualty here.
Well,
We've had over 1 million people die, but at the one of the major casualties here of the pandemic is it's completely undermined the public's trust in the public health establishment. So that's why the brand new COVID vaccine that was introduced this past fall, you have maybe 17% of the people in the country, of adults in the country, have taken it, and even in the population that's most vulnerable, that would benefit the most from the vaccine, where it's pretty uncontroversial that they should get it, the elderly. You only have about 42% of those folks getting vaccinated. And that's because no one trusts the public health establishment anymore.
Yep. Well, right. So yeah, exactly. And so perhaps that would lead one to say we should take steps to try to regain people's trust, and rather than shaming them or using professional athletes in propaganda films for pharma companies, maybe we could, propaganda ads, maybe we should, like, for example, this died suddenly. This is a thing. People have questions about it, like Amy just asked. I have questions about it, too. It's not impossible to study the incidence of these high-profile deaths and make some determinations as to cause, and then say, people raise questions about this. There's all sorts of vaccine injury reporting on the VAERS system. So we actually did look into this, and here's what we found, and we're going to produce our results for peer review and for public scrutiny. I mean, that might be like a good faith effort to try to address a legitimate question people have because of the mistrust they initiated.
Look, I think the biggest problem has been, as I think you mentioned it, the lack of transparency right from the get-go. So people were not told that there was any uncertainty. There were things were presented as proven. So first, Fauci was saying masks don't work. Then a month or two later, saying, "Oh, everyone should get masks," and cloth masks are as good as surgical and N95 masks, which is nonsense. No study has ever shown or even suggested that. And then later on says, "Well, I was just promoting masks because I wanted to save them for public health workers." I mean, those sorts of revelations undermine public confidence. And instead of just saying, "Look, we have a new disease. We're not sure exactly how it's going to proceed. We think this will work. We're not sure. This is what we're suggesting, but the advice may change." A little humility. And people could have, the American public is not stupid. They would have understood that things are uncertain. But these guys insisted on maintaining control. They insisted that they had to be right. And they were willing to slap down anyone else who proposed an alternative point of view, scientific or otherwise. I mean, I've written recently about, the folks like Fauci and Collins wouldn't allow other people in the Trump administration to try to advance arguments saying, hey, these lockdowns are going to be pretty bad. No matter what they do to health, they're going to destroy the economy, destroy people's livelihoods. They'll lead to other sources of death. They'll destroy kids' education, which will have a lifetime impact on them. They weren't interested in those things.
We have this conversation about a lot of the alphabet soup agencies in the federal government and state governments, for that matter. But it's the one about structure, whether it's FBI or CIA or DHS. What about CDC? Are there structural changes that need to be made to make CDC more transparent, more responsive, more productive for the American people? I mean, we have conversations going on all the time about the future of the FBI. Seems after the performance during the pandemic, we should be having the same conversation about CDC and NIH.
Well, definitely about CDC. I mean, I wrote a report with my colleagues at the Paragon Health Institute and at the Competitive Enterprise Institute called Unauthorized and Unprepared, and we concluded that the CDC is concentrating on everything but its core mission. It was created to combat infectious communicable diseases, and just 8% of its resources are devoted to that. It's talking about social justice, workplace injuries, environmental issues, the climate change, and all of those things made it unprepared for the pandemic. And when the pandemic arrived, they impaired its ability to respond. So I would tell everyone, look at that report, and you'll see. And we suggest the CDC has to be refocused by Congress.
And don't forget, the CDC had a say in what members were when we, withdrew from Afghanistan. They had a say on who was getting on the plane. I thought that was a complete overreach of their agency.
Well, I mean, it's the same old story, mission creep. It's the same old story in government. Dr. Joel Zinberg, Competitive Enterprise Institute Senior Fellow, Director of Public Health and American Wellbeing Initiative at Paragon Health Institute as well. The recent piece he wrote, which he was referencing, When Science is Not Science, you can check out at City Journal, the Manhattan Institute's publication. Dr. Zinberg,
actually, the National Review.
Oh, it was National Review? Oh,
yes.
Oh, sorry. Oh, it's okay. So check it out, nationalreview.com. Sorry, I got my outlets confused. Dr. Zinberg, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Listen to podcasts of Dan and Amy from the AM 560 mobile app. Download it today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
Brothers and sisters in Christ, as we navigate the challenges of our time, it's crucial to stand firm in our faith and uphold the values that have shaped our nation. The Bible teaches us the importance of faith, family, and freedom. In Proverbs 3, verse 5 and 6, we're reminded to trust in the Lord with all our hearts and to lean not on our own understanding. AMAC, like us, values faith as a guiding principle in our lives and in the decisions that shape our nation. As Christians, we cherish the freedom to worship, to live our lives in accordance with our faith. AMAC advocates for policies that safeguard our religious liberties, ensuring that future generations can continue to exercise their faith without fear. Join us in this mission to preserve the biblical values that make our nation strong. Visit amac.us/faith and let your voice be heard. That's amac.us/faith.
45 years ago, I started Permaseal Basement Systems working out of my apartment and F-150 pickup truck. Today, we've helped over 500,000 people in greater Chicagoland make their homes healthy and more valuable. Hi, I'm Roy Spencer. I'd like to thank all of you who have trusted Permaseal and reassure you that your trust is well placed. You can trust Permaseal to use only our own professional employees that will respect you and your home. Trust that we will deliver the best value, using fair book pricing so you don't have to negotiate to get the best deal. And trust Permaseal to always stand behind our work and our word. This January, we're celebrating with an anniversary sale offering 10% off all our services or up to 24-month interest-free financing, waterproofing, crawl space encapsulation, structural repairs, even our new attic insulation service. Be sure to call by January 31st to get great savings and great service. 800-421-7325, 800-421-SEAL, or visit permaseal.net.
You better hurry. Sale ends today.
It's a new year, and that means New Year's resolutions. Hi, Amy Jacobson here. And if one of your New Year's resolutions was to do more to help others, then we want to let you know that you still have the opportunity to make a difference in the lives of children in Latin America and the Caribbean through Food for the Poor. Your donation of just $80 provides food for an entire year for 2 children. That's life-changing. Just because the Christmas season is over, that doesn't mean that the need has gone away. Food for the Poor is a faith-based organization that works with partners on the ground to make sure these children are fed. You know, we talk a lot about the root causes of our immigration crisis, and one of those causes is the situation in many of these countries. This is your chance to help take care of others. To make a donation of any amount, just visit 560theanswer.com/foodforthepoor. That's 560theanswer.com/foodforthepoor. Thanks again for your generosity.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right. Another day of broadcast excellence. Anything you want to add, Dan, on the way out?
No, but we'll talk about tomorrow. I'm sort of looking forward to this already. getting Valentine's Day revenge on an ex. There's a new way to do it.
Oh, I can't wait to hear all about it. Thanks to Justin Kosick, our technical producer, and Quinn McCarthy, our executive producer. We're back here bright and early tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. Now let's head into that newsroom. Here's Mike Scott.
We'll meet to vote on two resolutions today, one calling for a ceasefire in the Israel-Hamas war, and city leaders are also expected to decide today how to handle its most serious police discipline problems. Bulls lost to Toronto, Fighting Illini a Big Ten road win. WIND Chicago News Time is 9 o'clock.
They're among the most powerful people in the world. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. CEOs of some social media companies